Anti-derivative Jill.
There she is.
Yes. Hello, I'm Anti-Derivative Jill, and this is Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations. What number is it? 48?
That looks like it, yep.
Yeah, today we're reviewing the next original series episode in production order, Space Seed.
Yay.
So this is a great Star Trek episode, and today I'm joined with pop culture curator and Scotty R37.
Hello, everybody. So glad to be here.
Absolutely smashing.
We're here to enjoy a very legendary episode. It's so spectacular. There's, of course, cinematic reasons for loving it as a prerequisite for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, it might be a good idea. Yeah, it's a good idea to probably watch this before you watch Wrath of Khan. But who are we talking to? The choir?
Yeah, exactly. But also, it also has us consider the possible future technology traveling through space in suspended animation. And while that's often done in sci-fi, it's really great that this is also paired with genetic engineering.
And right now, our scientists are actually playing around with trying to figure out how to do suspended animation safely.
Yes, that's great. That's one of the things I wish I had time to do, which would have been to do some research on the actual science of things like that. I know we have a lot of genetic engineering going around too.
Unfortunately, yes, but
yeah, and the consequences of that are detailed in this episode.
Yes, a lot of relevant things going on.
And
except we didn't have the eugenics war and Third World War in the 90s.
Well, not yet.
Not yet, right?
Not saying I want that to happen, but it's possible.
Well, the way the world is going, I'm okay with it.
And I forgot to make my poll, so I'm going to make this real quick.
Well, that's what I was going to tell you. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Hello to everybody in the chat. So good to see you all. It looks like we got some pretty big names here. Everybody's coming in fast and quick and fast and loose. Thank you.
And I actually did have the opportunity. I finally did the back-to-back viewing. I watched Space Seed, shortly followed by Wrath of Khan, and wow, what an afternoon that was.
Oh, nice. So, Scotty, a quick question.
Yeah.
What do you think about them completely recasting Khan's fellow crewmates?
I forgive it, but there are a couple of guys in the background who are sort of age appropriate. So there is a varied crew.
That's what I was thinking. Do you think they did it because they wanted them younger instead of older?
I think so, and it's interesting because even in Space Seed, the second in command, like the only other one of Khan's Supermen who has any lines is Joaquin or Joaquin.
Right. I think what they were trying to portray in the movie was that they didn't age as much as regular people. Maybe that's why they were appeared younger.
Which makes sense, but there's and specifically with that character, but there were 72 of them who were still alive, and we didn't necessarily get a sense of the ages of the rest of them either.
Correct.
No, they were just stretching out around.
I'm stretching out.
So thank you guys for joining me today. I want to remind everyone to subscribe to Pop Culture Curator. We still have our animated series show going on that channel. And next week we'll be watching How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth.
Absolutely.
Quetzalcoatl.
we'll be deciding pretty soon what show we'll be reviewing next for that time slot on Mondays. And also, you've got Tuesday horror streams and Wednesday Gilligan's Island.
Yep, tonight we're doing the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956. If you're a fan of that sort of thing, please join us. I think you'll have a blast.
Yeah, really cool.
Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome. And also remember to subscribe to the Phantasmagoria show by Scotty R37. He and Kat are going through all the Batmans. So actually, I don't even know which one is going on this week.
Tonight it's going to be myself, Kat, Ernesto, and Ben from Cinema Gulp, and we're going to be talking about Batman Begins. We're going back to basics with Bale.
Oh, that one. Okay, great. Okay, cool.
Bale was a good Batman.
Yeah, little gravelly in the throat, but other than that, he was great.
And
I liked him better than Kilmer or George. I can't remember.
The Coon Dog.
That's it. Yes, thank you.
Makes sense.
Well, even Clooney said he was a bad Batman, so there you go. Right.
And for my channel, I also have to say that as of February 15th, I've reached my 1-year anniversary since my very first live stream.
Very cool.
We discussed DeForest Kelly and his poetry for the fans that he read at conventions, and that was a really cool one. Also, his autobiography, or not autobiography. I wish he'd written one, but it was just a biography. But it was fun.
It was short and brief, but yeah, it was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And so my Friday show this Friday, I guess that'll be the theme and some other topics too.
Well, and Jill, and just based on your anniversary, I guess we're having an anniversary fortnight. I just wanted to say.
No, never give up, never surrender.
An anniversary fortnight?
Yeah, 2 weeks. Well, it's been 15th until Friday. I don't know. Let's give it 2 weeks. Why not?
Okay. It's been 1 week.
Yeah, we're giving it 2. What's better than 1?
All right. So, for reference to the production of these episodes, some of the facts I share come from Star Trek 365 by Paul M. Block and Terry J. Erdman, and the idea to use this text comes from my friend R.M. Briggs, who is featured on the Clobberin Times channel, and you guys should subscribe to Clobberin Times and also read Raquel's amazing short stories. I know I have her Patreon, which is the best way to be sure that you're supporting her work, because Amazon will not really pay her very much at all. But she still wants you to buy from Amazon because you can leave a review that way, a verified review that shows Amazon, hey, people do want science fiction. And so then that's one thing we can do, and I need to grab that from my list over here. Here it is.
Delightful.
And also Matt G just sent a $1 tip.
Wow, very cool.
Wow. Matt G says he just tipped $1. Picard is ripping this space seed Rathacon thing off by bringing in Professor Moriarty, among ripping off other things. Well,
Absolutely.
Professor Moriarty is in the Next Generation. His appearance in anything else, I'm not recognizing at the moment. But thank you very much, Matt G. And yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And Jill, you have a little bit of misspelling. I don't know if it matters.
What did I miss? I didn't mean to misspell something. What did I do?
It's your Stream Elements command for RM Briggs when you share her channel. Can you post it on the screen? Versus RM Briggs on Patreon. It's right next to it's the very next one after Matt's.
Did I misspell Patreon?
Yeah. It's no big deal. It's just
Patreon. You're right.
The fatherly money.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Pater.
All right, and also hello to Mr. Brown Alliance. He says,
"Ahoy, Mr. Brown."
And hello to Admiral T. Great to see you.
Hail, Admiral.
They're all. Oh, he answered your question from earlier. He says they're all about 30 to 40 years old because they're supposed to be leftover World War II German bad guy experiments. That's his answer for that.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I cannot.
Well, that's a 20-year difference because that's the 40s and Star Trek was 60s. But it
Well, and
wasn't supposed to
also,
take place in the 60s, but it's supposed to be 90s, though, right? So wouldn't they have been 50 years old, 50 something if it was? Remember, it's supposed to take place in the 90s.
That's
I
right,
don't know.
1990s. No, you're right.
Yeah.
and
I'm not sure.
Scotty,
Well,
Scotty.
obviously, comments.
Yeah. Oh no, feel free. I was just gonna say that Scotty does say that there is quite a diversity of ethnicities that are on the Botany Bay. So it's not just Germanics,
Yep.
if you will.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. As noted by Scotty
Mhm.
when they visit the ship. The show, Scotty.
Yeah, I think that was a
Mhm.
precursor to them saying how they came from all over the world. Because remember, they were tyrants that were running pretty much almost the whole planet.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm not sure where Admiralty gets that from, but thank you so much for being here and sharing. And hello to Stuart Mitchell and also Gorilla's Random.
Mitchell,
Hey,
good
He
to
Stuart.
see you,
says,
Stuart.
lurking in the corner, like a unwanted red-headed statue.
Oh, Gorilla, you're always wanted here.
Well, Gorilla, you're supposed to be making a snowman.
Yeah, where's that snowman?
Hello to Sean Carter and
Hey,
Megan
Sean.
Cropper asks where PvP is. He is working.
Hey, Sean. Good to see you, Sean.
Hey, man. G and hey, Mega Cropper.
G says, I didn't see this episode until I saw the movie, actually. Like
What
years and years.
interesting. Wow, that's an odd way of looking at it. So, Matt
And-
G, please add in the chat. Then, what did you think about the experience of seeing the episode after?
That's a good question. Stuart Mitchell says, well, he's quoting, so we're going to get lots of Wrath of Khan quotes in this
Yeah,
episode.
we're gonna be busy with those, aren't we? Right. If so many lines in this episode feel like they're leading up to lines in the Wrath of Khan. I mean, you just feel like quoting Khan all night long, right?
Yes, and hello to Captain Fandom Nerd and
Hello,
Euler
Captain
Greg.
Fandom Nerd. Euler Greg.
Yeah, and he says they should be watched together, the movie and this show.
Absolutely.
Such a good time just to watch Ricardo Montalban's performance.
He definitely demands that screen presence.
Yes, and Admiral Teague says happy anniversary, congrats on a great channel, thank you.
Agreed.
Yep,
And so this,
definitely.
oh right, I need my slides, so I better grab those. Let me move this over here.
Can I cover this excerpt from this book really quick?
Yes,
Jill?
please do.
I have an excerpt
That's a
from
great
Inside
idea.
Star Trek: The Real Story by Herb Solow and Robert H. Justman. And the reason why I'm on the cover of this is because McCoy stands out, in my opinion, in this episode. And this will be a brief paragraph or two about the hiring process of DeForest Kelly on Star Trek. Okay, so though Gene asked casting director.
Keep going. Ignore me.
Gene Roddenberry asked casting director Jody Augusta and my assistant Morris Chapnick to bring in candidates for the new roles. They could have saved their time, energy, and phone calls. Gene should have shared his reality. It's a sure thing, in the bag, he should have told them. Don't waste your time, guys. The fix is in. The first indication that Kismet had arrived in the Star Trek galaxy was when NBC decided to drop Roddenberry's police story from further contention as a full series or possible mid-season replacement. So DeForest Kelly, one of the stars of that pilot, was available. If the police story pilot was nothing else, it was a great piece of film for Kelly. Usually typecast as a cattle rustler, renegade, outlaw, horse thief, or gambler, he was finally seen in an entirely fresh light, that of a crusty but likable police criminologist, an honest-to-goodness good guy. Gene Roddenberry made no bones, pun intended, about wanting Kelly to play the new Doctor of the Enterprise. All agreed Kelly would bring a much-needed humanity to the role of Dr. McCoy. However, there remained some question as to his wearability over 26 episodes. In fact, he would not receive co-star billing and was guaranteed only the Actors Union minimum for series regulars. 7 out of 13 shows, including the pilot. No one at the studio or the network had any idea how important Dr. McCoy would become in the Star Trek saga to follow. A part of the Star Trek legend, advanced by Gene Roddenberry and quoted numerous times by D. Kelly, is that NBC turned him down for both pilot films and finally relented after seeing him in the police story pilot. Since it was I who requested and secured all network pilot and series cast approvals, let me correct the record and assure D that at no time did NBC reject him for the role of ship's doctor, because his name was never submitted for either of the pilots. It was just another case of Gene Roddenberry's not taking responsibility for his own decisions and finding scapegoats to avoid confrontation. But so basically, he was not turned down, because I remember hearing that rumor that he had been rejected for the first 2 pilots, but apparently that's not true. They just didn't consider him for the role. They just didn't think about it. I mean, if the pieces, what they did basically is we saw the first 2 doctors, and they just, they didn't work, and that's why NBC didn't want them, and they said we need another doctor, and that's when, fortunately, the timing was right, and they said, well, let's do DeForest Kelly. So thank you, Jill.
Welcome. Thank you so much. I really love that DeForest Kelly made it into the show. So, yeah.
And like they said,
very
they didn't
humble
realize
about it.
Right, and they didn't realize how big of a character he would be and how much an asset he would be to Star Trek.
Oh, that's pretty great. Admiral Teague says Khan is about 45, and I think the oldest, but the experiment in selective breeding is a World War II bad guy thing. Oh, okay. He's talking about real life. Yes.
Oh, that makes sense then.
Okay, yeah. So
well, yeah, they did do that in the World War II. They did sample with that a little bit. The Germans.
Yeah, no, that is precisely what they did. They did eugenics, but in terms of deletion and
right. Unfortunately,
breeding.
that brought us the Holocaust. Right. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Right. That is okay. So that we're talking about real world genocide, and how that correlates to the Star Trek past, I'm not sure how it connects just yet, but that is something interesting to look into. So this episode first aired on February 16th, 1967. Also, hello to Raymond Feliciano saying
hey,
happy
Raymond.
anniversary. Yes.
Hello,
Good to see
Raymond.
you, King Dolphin TV. Yes.
Yes, King Dolphin TV. I don't think I'm in my Stream Element spot.
I need to get better at using that bot.
I do too, actually, because I'm not fast enough. There you go. There's King Dolphin TV.
There we go. Sub to King Dolphin. Fantastic channel, everybody.
Mm-hmm. And also, I saw Mr. Brown Alliance in there. And so the story credit for this episode goes to Carrie Wilbur, while the teleplay credit goes to Gene L. Kuhn and Carrie Wilbur. Wilbur named this episode Space Seed, not only because of the implications of what civilization Khan might build, but also because he intended it to parallel the 18th century Britain, who used to ship out their prisoners. Hence the name of the ship, Botany Bay. But of course, later Gene Roddenberry realized that such vast resources wouldn't really be wasted on prisoners, so he shifted that to be that Khan took the ship for himself to go populate another world. And so
right.
Gene
I think that's a good idea, because they even debate that in the show. Spock discusses that. So it was a good idea to add that.
I think so too. It makes for a great debate, great intellectual debate that builds on the intellectual competitiveness between Kirk and Spock. And so Gene Roddenberry maybe should have gotten a bit of a writing credit there, because he did contribute to this episode. This episode explores the past lore of Star Trek history without the time travel. So immediately in the teaser, we have our first man of history, Lieutenant Uhura. She's thrilled to be hearing Morse code that she begins to translate it, even though the computer is also doing the job for Kirk. So it's CQ, and CQ is Morse code for seek you, or please answer, anyone that can hear this. So already in just the teaser, they play a little more with Spock's character, showing that Kirk can banter with Spock too. As they play chess in the rec room, they also compete intellectually on the bridge. And Kirk absolutely does take delight when he's correct about the ship being of Earth origin, when this was first dismissed by Spock. And Spock says, "I fail to understand why. It always gives you pleasure to see me proven wrong." And Kirk says, an emotional earth weakness of mine. There it is. And so there's a Botany Bay. But then Spock jumps at the chance also to correct Kirk by more accurately identifying the ship as a DY-100 class from the 1990s. And they discover some heartbeats. The Enterprise pulls along the Botany Bay, which it turns out this Botany Bay ship, was designed by Matt Jeffries before Matt Jeffries designed the Enterprise. And I love that his mind as a designer for the show was on the history, the universe, the history of Star Trek in universe history. So
it's a great design.
Well, it's really interesting because I got a chance to watch this episode as one of the unremastered, exactly, just like that one. So I didn't watch it with the updated special effects. I did watch the intro on the updated, and then I watched the full episode with the original effects. And aside from a little bit of listing of the Botany Bay as it sort of drifts beside the Enterprise, it's almost identical.
Which is good. I'm glad they didn't add any extra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and the book actually has something about it here. Blue screen technology in the 1960s was an analog process that required an extraordinary amount of care and skill. Replacing the blue area in a shot with an additional image required use of an optical printer, essentially a camera that looks directly into a projector, and photochemical processing. Effects technicians took numerous steps to sandwich together pieces of film and rephotograph them using filters and other forms of manipulation. Given the digital tools used today, it seems astonishing that these efforts at the time were considered bleeding-edge technology. The 11-foot-long Enterprise model shown here along with the Botany Bay spacecraft from Space Seed now sits in the Smithsonian Institute.
Right. And remember, everybody, this is before Hollywood started using green screen, which is digital, and this was analog.
Mm-hmm. And so, let's see where I am I wanted to see. Oh, yeah. Maggie says Roddenberry was a police officer. That's correct, because he wanted to become a writer. He wanted to stop being a pilot. He wanted to become a writer. And someone told him, you need street experience. You need to go out there and actually live. And so what the method that he used to do that was to become a police officer.
Right, which is why when you started writing, it was for police stories.
Mm-hmm.
Literally a show called Police Story. And Westerns.
Right. And Admiral Teague says, also McGivers is wrong. Khan is at least part Mexican. It's selective breeding. So Khan is mixed ethnicity, for sure. Gorilla's Random Thought says CQ was derived from CQD, which was come quick, damn it. Whoa, really? I don't know about
really?
that.
Hmm.
Yeah, James Cassar says I look like
MacGyvers.
MacGyvers.
That's the mispronunciation.
I
Yeah, they
don't
do
know.
the mispronunciation right in the show, right?
You know what? The mispronunciation happens in the show, so I'm
does.
gonna get it wrong. I'm gonna get it wrong several times. I don't know.
Well, it's funny because Captain Kirk says that he said that historian finally has something to do, and I'm like, ooh, that's a
So
jab.
is it MacGyvers?
MacGyver.
It's
I don't know.
MacGyver's.
Okay.
As Spock says, yes.
And as she says, when they get on the transporter pad.
All right.
Yep.
All right. I'll go by you because. Okay, so then we get our first captain's log. Can you read it for us, Scotty?
Absolutely. Captain's log, stardate 3141.9. A full hour has elapsed since interception of the strange vessel. Our presence alongside it is still being completely ignored. Although our sensors continue to show signs of equipment and life aboard, there has been no indication of danger to us.
No Sulu in this episode.
That's right. There's no Sulu. Right. Here we get a major historical event in Star Trek history, the Eugenics Wars. Later, we know it as the Third World War, but here it's referenced to as the Last World War. And the episode devises a clever way to describe the Stark period in the past through Spock and McCoy banter. McCoy says the eugenics wars. Spock says, of course, your attempt to improve the race through selective breeding. And McCoy says, now wait a minute, not our attempt, Mr. Spock. A group of ambitious scientists. I'm sure you know the type, devoted to logic, completely unemotional. And Lieutenant McGivers is also assigned to the landing party.
That's where
MacGyver's
he's trying to think of the name, right?
so she can't continue her painting. And I'm fairly certain here. Is this the first time that McCoy expresses his discomfort at using the transporter? Because it feels like it.
I think so. I don't remember it before this.
Me neither. Kirk asks if McCoy's ready, and he responds, no, I signed aboard this ship to practice medicine, not to have my atoms scattered back and forth across space by this gadget. So the landing party has Kirk, McCoy, Lieutenant Marla, and Scotty arriving on the Botany Bay, surrounded by compartments of people who appear to be sleeping. Scotty reveals that he revels in the ancient technology. Definitely Earth-type mechanism, sir. 20th century vessel. Old-type atomic power. Bulky, solid. I think they used to call them transistor units. I'd love to tear this baby apart.
Apparently, in the original treatment, the Botany Bay left Earth in 2096 with 100 criminals, both men and women, and a team of several volunteering lawmen aboard.
Oh, okay. So they were also going to have. So they right. Okay, so that's the original concept.
The original concept, right? They eliminated the lawmen.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, originally, it was supposed to be Alfred Eriksson or something along those lines, and it was going to be a Nordic individual who, again, a criminal, but was intent on taking over the Enterprise to become space pirates.
Okay, so more like Vikings.
Right.
Space
Also,
pirates.
following positive feedback from the producers and the network regarding James Doohan, this was the first episode to feature a more prominent role for Scotty.
Oh, right. That's because these episodes were flipped because the last episode had a prominent role for Scotty, but the production order was flipped.
Yes. And the main cast were enthusiastic about working with Ricardo Montalban. DeForest Kelly later said, I enjoyed working with Ricardo the best. I was privileged. He is a marvelous actor. Definitely no doubt about that.
Yeah, no question. He really plays it up and makes me believe his character.
Very sinister, yes. Believable.
So Kirk identifies what he sees as suspended animation, backed up by Marla, who's seen photographs about it, saying it was necessary until 2018 to use this form of type of space travel because of how long it took to get from one planet to the other. So we are quite a bit behind technologically than the Star Trek universe. Marla is distracted by the history surrounding her and captivated at the sight of Khan. That it takes a moment for her to respond to her captain to confirm that Khan's probably its leader due to being set to revive first. And she says he's from the northern India area. I'd guess probably a Sikh. They were the most fantastic warriors.
Scenes shot on the Botany Bay were cut as executives felt the costumes worn by the newly awakened crew were too revealing.
We did see a few of them, but wow.
Yeah, the first shot of the Botany Bay with that young lady in blue, bathed in blue.
Well, in Khan, sort of, but they had that golden, like that blanket over him or whatever that is, but it's full of holes. Whatever
Like the
it's
mesh.
called.
Yeah, that reminds me of the shirts on UFO of the people who are in the submarine. They basically have shirts that are just holes and just it is those outfits are pretty revealing too. And Scotty reports that there are others of mixed races, Western, Mid-European, Latin, Oriental, showing some incredible diversity in these superhumans. Like Scotty was saying before, they're all from all around the world because there were different augments who were trying to take over.
Some 80 or 90 Napoleons.
And it's funny, that object, I was wondering when that object was sitting on the transporter what it was, the cylinder. And they carried it with them and they beamed aboard the Botany Bay. Kirk used it to smash the window. And then that was the last time we see that object. I thought, oh, well, okay, I guess they knew they needed that object.
Apparently it's a flashlight. It's like the
Absolutely.
palm beacon for Next Generation.
I was wondering that, but I know we saw a flashlight in an earlier episode that was much smaller, that fit in the palm of the hand, but, who knows?
Well, and there is, I never like to yank away a sort of production error, but was there something about the phaser pop?
Which one? The one that's bent?
No. The one that was on Kirk's, was Velcroed to Kirk's hip. When he goes to break the glass to get Khan out, it drops away and then is basically just dropped and lost on the Botany Bay after that.
Oh, no, I did not notice.
Oh.
I see what you mean. So that's still that Jill just showed the communicator's on his hip, but not the phaser. So that must be after the drop. Right there.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
Yeah, there's no phaser.
You can see the holster for it, but it's missing. Hey, good point, Scotty.
See, that's what I get for looking to the right. I was looking at Khan.
Well, I was too, but he.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, that's the whole idea. The eyes are on him, right?
Mm-hmm. That's where your attention goes. The whole ship falls for it. Gorilla's Random Thought says, though there was one gigantic mistake in this episode, and that was MacGyver's identifying Khan all the way down to the region when she wouldn't have been able to till she heard him speak. Huh?
Very possible.
What does it mean?
I think he's saying that she shouldn't be able to tell the region by just looking at him. That I think it would have helped to hear him speak, to hear the accent in his voice.
Oh, okay.
I think is what Gorilla's saying.
And according to those two bimbos at Star Trek Day, it's Ricardo. I'm not saying it.
Oh, somebody said that? Oh, jeez.
My goodness. Ricardo Montalban is what I want to say. I don't want to.
Right. Nobody should disrespect his name. All right,
hell? That's awful.
Right.
But you know what? They probably thought that was correct. That's terrifying.
I wouldn't be surprised, right?
Why were they even there? James Caserta says Shirley Temple, the Beatles, Beethoven, and Star Trek.
I think it was a reference to his past post that says Trek was the eighth wonder of the world. Mm-hmm. And I think he says also Shirley Temple, the Beatles, Beethoven, and Star Trek.
Oh, gotcha. So Khan shows signs of perishing, so Kirk uses something metal to break the glass, and so he tries to speak, asking how long he's been speaking. Kirk says 200 years, but the timeline was still not where it eventually settles on in canon, so the real answer should be more like 300 years, just like what we say when we watch Tomorrow's Yesterday.
Which is interesting because they still carry that over into Wrath of Khan as well. When he's on the Botany Bay, he says, on Earth, 200 years ago, I was a prince with power over millions. So it's interesting.
Yes,
at that point, had the timeline been established?
Well, at the very beginning of Wrath of Khan, it says in the 23rd century.
Did they actually establish how long he was on Ceti Alpha 5?
15 years.
That's what I thought. I wanted to add the creation of the Botany Bay miniature caused the episode to go over budget by more than $12,000. The episode actually cost a total of $197,262 against a budget of $180,000. By this point, the series was nearly $80,000 over budget in total.
Over budget? Worth it.
Yes.
Worth it, and still not as bad as Mission Impossible, who always went over budget, right?
Yeah.
How long?
Oh no. Gorilla says right now the snow is too light and fluffy to make a snowman. Okay, oh well.
Plenty of time.
Pop culture curator, could you read the next captain's log for us?
Absolutely. Captain's log supplemental. Alongside the SS Botany Bay for 10 hours now, a boarding party of engineering and medical specialists are now completing their examination of the mysterious vessel. Attempts to revive other sleepers await our success or failure with the casualty already beamed over. Dr. McCoy is frankly amazed at his physical and recuperative power.
So then we have the next debate between Kirk and Spock, and we see why it's so great for them to spar intellectually all the time, because we get this kind of determination here. We learned.
Jill, did you happen to notice when they talked about that the ship was pre-warp, and then they had to put them in suspended animation, and then I believe they mentioned that we were past. I should have written it down, but they mentioned that we were able to pass sublight speed in 2018. Did you catch that?
Yes, I did. I
Okay,
did mention that. Maybe not in so many words exactly the way you said it, but I did mention.
Right. I was trying to paraphrase. I couldn't exactly remember. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yes. Yes, right. They had to travel that way until 2018. Yes. I did get
We're
that.
behind, people. We need to catch up. Make it snappy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said too.
I know it. Elon Musk, I guess he's our only hope. But they are working on better engines, so we'll see what happens.
So anyway, they get one at yes, and I do hope we start to catch up a bit, at least to the 90s.
I know, at least to the 90s, right? We at least get some of these ships launched with a crew aboard like that into deep space.
Sean Carter says, I had one little beef with this episode when they call
MacGyvers.
I struggle so much with this.
But just think of the TV show MacGyver. There we go.
Okay, that'll help. Is painting and called to the transporter room. She's annoyed about being called to work, as if she's overworked as a historian.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah.
which kind of plays into when Captain Kirk says they'll finally give her something to do or something along that line.
Yeah, well, that shows her dedication, doesn't it?
Right.
James Caserta says scientists have proved that the universe is unreal and meaningless.
James Caserta, I'm right here with you.
Right. We're all living in a simulation on a disc.
I am not. I'm more with Spock when he says
insufficient facts always invites danger, Captain.
And so that's them trying to figure out what's going on, because we learned from Spock that the ship had nuclear-powered engines. So he decides they wouldn't likely be intentionally traveling to another star system. Kirk counters that the Botany Bay is the name of the penal colony on Australia. But Spock contends that using the most advanced starship of the time for a penal colony during a world war would be wasteful.
Yeah, if I can cover real quick, Terry Wilbur used the 18th century British custom of transportation, shipping out convicts to the colonies, especially Australia, as a parallel for his concept of siege ships used to take unwanted criminals out to space from the overpopulated Earth, hence the name Botany Bay. In his original treatment, that's what I meant about the Botany Bay left at Earth, and that's when it had lawmen aboard, so that's why they changed that totally.
Well, and they changed it as well because I think it was Gene Roddenberry and Gene Kuhn who were just saying that they wouldn't put that many resources into shipping prisoners off world.
So so the idea is like Jill said, they escaped Earth to try to conquer another planet.
I do appreciate all the work that's put into the script writing in terms of trying to make sure it makes some sense.
Well, especially when they're not only building this episode, but the movie too. So it really helps.
Mm-hmm. But we also get this line from Spock where, well, I don't say the line, but he says he's incapable of feeling irritation. And so this is one of the moments where people get the misconception that Vulcans are unfeeling generally, as Spock is kind of exaggerating. He says he's incapable of feeling the emotion, but doesn't explain that's because he's actively suppressing the capability.
Right, he's suppressing.
Mm-hmm. So Khan is recovering quickly because he has stronger organs, his heart and lungs, and is just stronger in general in every respect. And Kirk is also spending some time to reprimand Marla for her hesitancy in reporting to
I like how
Kirk.
you switched to Marla. Just makes it easier.
Well, the other scene was over.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. I commend you.
Because being out of line, even just for a few seconds, could jeopardize the safety of others. And of course, Kirk can read in Marla her captivation for Khan, I believe, because he shares it too, and because this is a trap that Kirk finds himself falling for very often himself. So it makes sense that he can see it in others.
Right, and we've seen this many times in Star Trek and TAS, where a crew member is infatuated strangely on an alien or another person that's not on the ship.
And that's very often Kirk himself.
Antagonist.
So when it's happening to his crew members, he's like, I see what's happening here.
Well, and Dr. McCoy explains that Khan has magnetism.
Right.
Super magnetism, I guess.
Yes, because she's not the only one infatuated. Marla says, not personally, Captain, professionally. My profession is historian, and when I find a specimen from the past alive, I'm in sheer delight of examining his mind. But Kirk says, and men were more adventuresome then, bolder, more colorful. Yes, sir, I think they were. Good. If I can have honesty, it's easier to overlook mistakes. That's all. So then in the ward, Khan wakes up and gets out of bed, and he does some stretching.
Eugenics yoga.
Eugenics yoga. He hears McCoy's voice. Khan sees a display of old medical instruments. Just, I guess, some
very old, right? Some of those are like torture devices.
Yeah, right. These do forceps and crazy things.
Yeah, like, I was once in a museum and I saw some really old, like 1800 dental devices that look similar to that.
Right. So I guess these are just like decoration, but I never see them again after this.
The hemostats and the scalpels are the only thing I see that I would let touch me.
Well, that's what Khan takes. He takes a scalpel and he gets back.
Oh, wait. The center device is the probe they stick in your ear when they're checking your hearing or your ears.
Oh
that silver device right there above the knives. That's the thing that the doctor sticks in your ear.
Yeah, that does look like a thing that can go in your ear. Look at this. Some fun stuff. And he hides the scalpel for when McCoy comes to check on him. And as the doctor leans over, Khan grabs him by the throat and holds the blade to his neck, giving us some of the best McCoy lines in this episode.
Oh, McCoy's not afraid.
Oh, yeah.
Well, either choke me or cut my throat. Make up your mind.
Yeah!
Yeah, which of course impresses Khan.
Yes, especially when he actually says it would be most effective if you would just cut the carotid artery just under the left ear. And definitely impresses Khan. And seeing McCoy is very brave. And actually the book is also impressed by McCoy, so it has a little bit about him here. It says, by the latter part of the first season, Dr. McCoy had become a strong presence on Star Trek. The once occasional verbal jabs between McCoy and Spock were now a regular feature, clearly fun to write and equally fun to watch. Viewers were also learning about McCoy's eccentricities.
Eccentricity.
Yes, I do know this word.
Yeah, it takes a little minute to get rolling there.
No, but I do know the word eccentric.
Go for it.
But I never say the word eccentricity.
Eccentricities?
Eccentricities.
Yes.
Yes. I apologize. It's a word I know.
Well, it's a bit of a tongue twister. It's a bit of a tongue twister.
Oh my God. Like the fact that he disliked having his atoms scattered back and forth across space by the transporter. But beyond comic relief and beyond sheer utility as the guy who was there to patch up the crew, it was clear that McCoy could hold his own in a dramatic setting, even up against a villain as incandescent as Cardinal Sin. McCoy's cool Under Fire persona comes to the forefront in a memorable scene from Space Seed as Khan grabs him by the throat and threatens him with a knife. This move provokes only a wry surgical tip from McCoy, delivered with whispered intensity. It would be most effective if you would cut the carotid artery just under the left ear. And the comment has the desired effect. Khan respects McCoy's willingness to meet his challenge, mano a mano, so to speak, and he tells the doctor that he is a brave man. While Shatner and Nimoy were, by this time, drawing an impressive amount of fan mail each week, DeForest Kelly also had a devoted following, thanks to his consistently strong performance in scenes like these. Associate producer Bob Justman recognized the actor deserved better than the contractual featuring DeForest Kelly end credit that he was receiving. Justman therefore took it upon himself to discuss the matter with NBC. In the following season, DeForest Kelly's name was moved up front to a starring credit in the main title, as it should be.
Well, and I'm sure everybody's seen the anecdote about the fan letter that DeForest Kelly got from a young lady who sent him a letter with a marijuana cigarette in it, in DeForest Kelly's own words, and he says that the letter read, "You've turned me on so many times before, I thought I would return the favor," or something along those lines. And it's just, yeah, this man earned his ladies' man status, and eventually in Trials and Tribulations, it is learned that while Dr. McCoy was a medical student in Old Miss, Emery Dax, one of the previous hosts of Dax, impressed by having the hands of a surgeon.
Yes, in Deep Space Nine, that was incredible. I did like that scene, the way that Sisko looks at her in response.
Yes.
To that.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
He has the hands of a surgeon.
Little eyebrow waggle.
And also, DeForest Kelly really loved his fans so much that you could send those fan letters directly to his house. Ricardo Montalban's acting is incredible this entire episode, especially beginning with when Khan realizes some of his people are still alive, and his whole demeanor alters as he's made some kind of epiphany. Oh, and
hey.
Cardinal Sin is here. Hello, Cardinal Sin.
Ahoy, Cardinal.
Let's see. Let's where it was. Oh. I'm going to go by where you starred me.
That's where it was.
Kirk 130 says, "Dang it, I got sidelined by a real meeting. Just got here."
Sorry to hear that.
Your commitment to corporate is impressive.
Thank you for quoting me from last year.
Cheers.
Hello, Herc 130.
Hey, Herc.
I'm glad you made it. And Gorilla's Random Thought says, "The phone just went off. We are officially in a liquor store warning."
That is a weather emergency.
Phantom Outsider says, because blasting criminals into space in cryosleep is a smart allocation of resources during the war, instead of, executing them. Yeah, that's why that's not what's happening here. This is Khan taking his followers, the other augments who wanted to rule the world, to go find their own world.
Well, and there's a duology of books written by Greg Cox, I think, called The Eugenics Wars, The Rise and Fall of Khan, Noonien, and Singh. And it was written after the episode of Voyager where they go back to the 90s. And it makes the eugenics war seem sort of like a covert war. And that's why it didn't have the effects on Los Angeles in 1990, whatever it was, or 2000, whatever it was. No, it would have been 1990, whatever it was. But yeah, interesting duology of books that sort of covers the rise.
So they somehow were able to take over the world covertly?
Well, and there was eugenics, like in terms of creating superhumans, and yeah, it was basically a shadow war behind the scenes to try and take over different parts of the globe. But yeah, and I wouldn't say it's beta canon. It's just something to sort of make everything mesh, as Star Trek fans tend to do.
Yeah, just to explore the lore. That's fun.
That's fine.
But the only thing I remember from that Voyager episode is Sarah Silverman, so I really don't remember.
Well, in the first appearance of the mobile emitter.
Oh, yeah. And so Sean Carter says the reprimand Kirk gives her is a very good display of leadership. If I can have honesty, it makes it easier to overlook mistakes.
And I love McCoy's response to that too, where he says, "It's too bad you pursued command because you would have been a fair psychologist." And Kirk looks at him and is like, "Fair," as if to say, "No, I would have been pretty damn good."
Yeah. Well, also we have Cavatino Calverman Shay here.
Hey there, Cappuccino.
Ahoy, Cappuccino.
He says, looks like Ricardo did not skip bench day before this episode.
Oh, yeah, he definitely was buff. He worked out. And then obviously for decades, not just for this episode.
Right, because there were rumors, as I'm sure people know, that it was like, oh, he must have had a prosthetic chest for Wrath of Khan.
Yeah,
and the answer is no. He was always really fit.
No, that's so crazy.
It was a rumor.
That's a stupid rumor.
It's so tragic.
No, I heard it too.
It is. It was going around a long time, but it's a tragedy that Ricardo Montalban ended up in a wheelchair. He was such a fit individual.
Well, and I don't want to bring in the Spy Kids movies into this, but I will because Ricardo Montalban is here. When doing interviews on the special features for the Spy Kids movies, they talk about how he was rather ill and in pain a lot of the time. And he even said himself, the only time he felt that he wasn't in pain is when he was on set and performing in the later years of his life.
And I saw that movie just for him. I wasn't even a fan of the Spy Kids, but when I saw he was in it, I said, okay, I'm there. And I went and saw it at the theaters. And he did a great job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He acted just like Khan, like you would expect.
He acted like Khan in the Spy Kids movie. I never saw that movie.
It's worth it for him. It's not that good of a movie, but it's worth it for him.
I did hear that pain did kind of start during the Wrath of Khan.
I need to look up more. Maybe he had an injury at some point that progressed.
I don't really know. That is something to look up.
Cam.
Good to see you, Cam.
Hello, Cam. Cam says, hi, Jill, Pop, and Scotty. Listening while I do some chores. A+. Love this episode. Ricardo Montalban is like fine Corinthian leather.
Nice. Anyone under the age of 30 has no idea what we're talking about.
I saw him on David Letterman, and David Letterman said, "What's with the Corinthian leather? What is Corinthian?" And Ricardo Montalban said, "We didn't know. It just didn't sound fancy."
Makes sense.
There you go. That's good enough for me.
It doesn't mean anything. It's provocative.
It was certainly fun to read.
For sure.
Matt G tips $1 to say they found out later the hibernation process was enhanced by having Khan and his crew watch Discovery on loop. Side effects include loss of IQ points, but it did put them to sleep. Oh, that's the secret to...
I figured it would probably lead to mutiny.
Yeah, that's the worst ASMR that I could possibly think of.
Yeah, I only got to be able to sleep. I'm very violent.
Yeah.
Or at least it would induce nightmares if it did get you to sleep.
Ugh.
Yeah, I think all the crew would be at each other's throats.
Maggie, my goodness. Maggie knows that's the way to get me to read about the filth. Sean Carter says, Khan sings head, shoulders, knees and toes. Oh, and he's stretching.
Head and shoulders, knees and toes.
Oh, that's much better.
Kirk, my old friend. I cannot help but be touched. Sorry, I'm going to go into it now. Heavens. Oh, wait, what was that? Phantom Outsider. Awesome. Soon he will become fatigued again. Delightful. I feel myself growing fatigued.
And regarding all those ancient medical tools, the Comic Relief Crusader says, hell all. Is somebody getting a colonoscopy with those tools?
Oh,
I hope not. Hey, Comic Relief Crusader.
And Cardinal Sin is here saying hi to everybody.
Hey. I don't know. That was just really fun. I'm sorry for giggling. It's nice to see you, Cardinal Sin.
Cavatino says, how is Khan's cleavage allowed on screen considering broadcasting standards?
They didn't
Because
have
he's a
envy
man?
standards.
Right,
Right,
because
they
he's
didn't
a
have
man.
problem with the only problem they had with men's bare chests, as we've noticed and pointed out in some of these episodes, is for some reason they cover the nipples with makeup. That was a common practice back in the days.
You don't do
Nipples,
that anymore? I do that every day.
Yeah, I know. And nipples were deemed offensive. It's the same thing when I covered Invasion of the Body Snatchers tonight. There's a glimpse of a woman's nipple. And it's not a real woman. It's a body double cast that they made. But the fact that it had a 1 second shot of a nipple, they covered it with makeup.
Captain Finity is here. Ahoy, Captain.
Hey,
Yeah.
Captain Finity. Good to see you again.
Well, that's a thing on Star Trek anyway, is keeping the censors happy. Hello,
You got to
Captain
pancake
Finity.
those nipples.
Right. It was very difficult back then because almost everything upset the censors.
And Cardinal Sin just tipped $25. He said,
Oh, wow.
"Thanks for another great show." You're welcome. I really hope it is. We're getting to the part where Marla meets Khan.
Oh, and I wanted to say hello to Retro Nerd Girl, stopping in before she heads to work.
Wow,
Hello
Retro
there.
Nerd Girl is here. I'm honored. That's
Hello.
great. I didn't see her.
Oh, here we are.
Oh,
There we
thank
are.
you. Thank you for stopping by. Also, Terry Rose. What
Hey,
is
Terry.
the real thing?
Hello,
Or is it
Terry.
just Fantasy Island. Oh,
You playing? The Botany Bay, boss. The Botany Bay.
Does somebody know that song? I don't know.
Was it the real thing? Was it just Fantasy Island?
Oh, oh, okay, gotcha. Bohemian Rhapsody. I didn't hear that until you sing it.
I see a little silhouette of a gorn.
Yeah, Cappuccino's right about that one.
Right, the belly buttons. We're not allowed.
No belly buttons.
So, yeah, so wait a minute. Okay, so I guess I missed the part where he avoids being questioned and asks to read the technical manuals, showing immediately that Marla isn't the only one becoming captivated by his charm, because why else would Kirk allow him access to the library computer?
Yeah, I thought that was highly unusual as well. Until they
It is.
find out who he is, right?
Right, exactly. The ship is the most important thing to Kirk. So for him to just give it up, the entire library so easily.
And this does help explain how in Wrath of Khan they were able to take over the Reliance so easily. So Khan did have previous knowledge.
Right, and he used to be an engineer.
Yeah, and he used to be an engineer, which they'll show later when they give him an engineer's outfit.
Yes. So it shows that Kirk has fallen for Khan almost as much as Marla, although of course not romantically. But to be fair, he doesn't know yet exactly who Khan is. But not giving up all the specifications of your starship should be a thing.
Yeah, it should be top secret. In fact, even aboard the ship, it should only be for those that need to know, not the entire crew.
And maybe it's just that they're only sharing whatever's publicly available to anyone who's a cadet. But
Well,
it is.
I don't know. It just seems like I wouldn't show the innermost workings and secrets of
Oh yeah, I agree.
Ship to anybody.
There's no logical reason for Kirk to do this.
It should be protected by passwords and everything else.
Well, I think there is a certain level of leeway. I don't want to call Kirk completely irresponsible with it, but considering that he's 200 years out of date, he thought, and Spock does mention and say, do you think that's wise? And he says, well, he is going to be living in our time. We should give him the opportunity to catch up. And then also it being $200 years out of date, that maybe it would be beyond his technological understanding, not understanding that Khan is, intellectually superior from a superior mind.
And that's what Spock should have added. Maybe we should identify who he is before we let him know any more information.
Right. And knowledge is power, but
knowledge is power.
Yeah, I love Skullcast Rock.
And they had already established at this point that he was part of the eugenics, so they knew he was of superior intellect.
Was it at this point that they knew?
Yeah, they knew it when they realized that it was a Botany Bay in space, and they were talking about the eugenics war in the 1990s.
Oh, okay.
And Oh, did they knew that these were genetically modified individuals?
Yes, they knew they were
From
stronger and smarter, pretty much.
So, but I think part of it, aside from allowing him to catch up, I think Kirk is kind of blinded by Khan's charm, like other members of the crew are.
Well, McCoy
Very-
even mentions it and says he is magnetic. I'm sure you felt it, like
Yes,
directly. So he is charming.
and there's a reason why I keep repeating it. When
You know what?
Khan,
And that's a testament to, I don't know what other actor could have played this role other than Ricardo Montalban. I mean, that magnetism shows through because of the actor. A lot of it is because of the actor. Oh, Captain's got problems.
Captain's got problems when there's no Chekhov.
Okay. There are two alternatives.
I have one
And-
to suggest. Being a first season episode, Chekhov does not appear. Nevertheless, Chekhov does not appear in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, in which Khan not only meets but instantly recognizes him. Many fan theories have frequently tried to explain where Chekhov could have been off screen during that episode that would cause Khan to remember him. Walter Koenig himself came up with the story, which he likes to recite at conventions, that Khan, during the events of Space Seed, desperately needed to go to the bathroom, but the only toilet he could find was occupied, and when it was open, Chekhov walked out and Khan resolved never to forget Chekhov's face. The Wrath of Khan novelization by Vonda N. McIntyre does officially explain that Chekhov was working in engineering when Khan began his rebellion there, and most of that happened off camera. And it was because of Chekhov's valiance in resisting that he was promoted to the bridge for the series' second season. So I guess that helps, Eddie. But if he was working in
both of them,
engineering,
but there is a
Right.
third one as well, is that the star date for this episode actually does take place after some of the second season star dates.
Oh, well, that's possible.
Yeah, I like the idea that Chekhov was there, but we just didn't see him, but Khan did. He's just in the lower decks, hanging out
Right. In the bathroom.
in the bathroom. Herc 130 says Gorilla didn't give this episode an F-, so there's hope. Wait, what did he give? JD Lewis says this episode, Balance of Terror and City on the Edge of Forever are the holy trinity of Star Trek episodes.
Very good observation.
And so Gorilla's Random Thoughts says, oh, he's stocking up on liquor. for the
Priorities.
blizzard, getting supplies. Cardinal Sin says Khan looked up Chekhov in the library computer before he became a bridge officer.
That makes sense too.
That's another good option. Phantom Outsider says according to them, 35 million died in the eugenics wars. You'd think that there would be people that might hold a grudge. You killed my great 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 grandfather and his father before him.
Prepare to die.
Oh, yeah, that's
Well, then you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's true.
Captain Affinity can explain that one better than I could, I'm sure.
Well, it's possible that the grandfather progenited before being killed.
Well, and it makes sense if Chekhov was working in engineering, Khan did take over engineering. That could have been where he met him. It's just it was off screen.
Mm-hmm. Cardinal Sin says, I think the 3-episode arc with Brent Spiner and Enterprise references Space Seed nicely.
Yeah.
Or reference. Okay, so also before this scene, I said, while Khan avails himself on the library computer, Spock continues his research, leading to these lines that I liked. Kirk says, well, they were hardly supermen. They were aggressive, arrogant. They began to battle among themselves. And Spock says, because the scientists overlooked one fact. Oh, I have it right here, actually.
Superior ability breeds superior ambition.
Outstanding.
Watch out.
So before we actually go to this scene that I've been on for the past several minutes, I'm going to read Paula's opinion on Marla. I find it slightly disagreeable, not how I see Marla at all. I almost decided not to read it, but for the sake of expressing multiple opinions, I will read it anyway. Well, at least part of it I don't like. So this is Paula M. Block from the book. It says, there are times when Star Trek's wonderful vision of the future isn't quite so forward-thinking. Race relations and unpopular war, the social divide between hippies and the establishment, all were fair game when it came to poking holes in the status quo. But when it came to women, well, consider the how to marry a millionaire mindset of Mudd's women, the flirty computer created by female engineers with an unfortunate tendency to giggle. And tomorrow is yesterday, or even poor Uhura stuck opening and closing hailing frequencies for much of the series. But But if certain parts of Space Seed come across as Harlequin romance, ship's historian Marla McIver's fascination with the living embodiment of her warrior prince fantasies leads her to throw away her career and commit mutiny. It's not just a sign of the errors in equality between the sexes. Just about everyone on the Enterprise, with the exception of Spock, is struck by Khan's tremendous charisma. And that's the part. Okay, so everything before that I disagree with. Everything after, everything that sentence onward I'm fine with. So everyone is struck by Khan's tremendous charisma.
Yes. I wanted to mention really quick is Ricardo Montalban, aka Khan, and Madeline Rue, aka Marla McIvers, had played a romantic couple together previously in the episode Bonanza episode Day of the Reckoning in 1960. Montalban played Matso, a Bannock Indian, and Rue played Hatoya, his Shoshone Indian wife.
Oh, that's cool. So they already had practice in developing chemistry before this.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I wonder if he may have suggested her for the role.
Well, and then just in regards to Marla's sort of subservience to Khan right off the hop, there apparently the young lady who played Tomlinson's fiancée in Balance of Terror, and she was also in Shore Leave. She was on the call sheet for this episode, and apparently it was scripted and not filmed, or scripted, filmed, and cut, where she's friends with Marla and says that another crewman wants to take Marla out on a date. And Marla says, I want a man who will barge down the door, pick me up, and take me where he wants. So basically expressing that there's no one on the ship who really interests her anyway. And this is sort of a ray of sunshine in her lonely life, if you will. Now, not completely forgiving mutiny, but still, it is something that would have driven her characterization a little bit better.
Well, that makes sense in a way that, I mean, because a lot of people say, well, then Captain Kirk kind of fills those shoes, but remember now, he far outranks her, so I'm sure she doesn't even see herself as eligible for him.
Well, and even
Kirk wouldn't date crew members anyway.
Right. Exactly. So she knows there's no hope. So that's another reason why she would be lonely.
But I kind of disagree with Paula on that. But I didn't know about that deleted scene. That would have explained things a little better.
Right, but there's no room for subplots here, people.
No. He had... okay, so then as McCoy tells Kirk, and as both of you have told me too, he has a magnetism, almost electric. You felt it. Even Kirk, who should have known better, yields to Khan's seemingly innocent request to peruse the technical manual of the Enterprise, and the entire senior staff, all male, thoroughly confound Spock when they express their admiration for Khan. And if the words on the script page established Khan as a man of influence, the charisma of the actor who portrayed him certainly closed the deal. Ricardo Montalban is power, declares Harv Bennett, producer of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. He is one of the most underrated actors in the past 50 years.
I agree.
The Latino's actor's turn as a magnificent tyrant, reprised 15 years later in the motion picture, secured Montalban his position as Star Trek's most memorable villain, bar none.
Funny, he remembered a lot longer in history as Khan than he will as Mr. Rourke from Fantasy Island.
Absolutely. And so then Khan uses this charm on Marla, seeming to be as captivated with her as she is with him.
But he knows he controls her already.
Yes. As a megalomaniac, I'd be wary of how genuine this affection is. If Ricardo wasn't such a marvelous actor, he absolutely sells it. making this attraction kind of raw and believable, even down to the moment where he fixes her hair or unfixes it. It's chilling and powerful, and also, kind of sexy too. Marla does try to be professional. She says, "My interest is scientific. Men, that is the world of the past. I'm sure you understand. To actually talk to a man of your century."
Well, and I have a ridiculous production observation, but if you can go back to the mirror.
Mhm.
So there's a moment in the deadly years after they come back and everyone's got the old age makeup going on, and there is either ensign or a lieutenant or a yeoman. I forget the young lady's rank at the time. But she walks by and she catches a glimpse of herself in the old and being old. And she says, "That's a stupid place to hang a mirror." And it always bothered me about that episode. And I was like, yeah, it's the only time this mirror has ever shown up. But I was wrong, because here it is. So the continuity of this mirror lives on.
That's funny. I would have never made that connection.
It is true. I remember. Yeah, it's the young lady who turns old.
I don't know. Did you make a Princess Bride reference? I still haven't seen it.
I did. It was something about the grandfather's father's prepare to die. So yes.
Superior ability leads to a superior nap.
I grow fatigued again.
And
I have a superior hunger. I need to snack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, please continue.
Yeah, Megan Cropper says she's been brainwashed. She'll be a single mother back on Earth in a couple of years. Megan Cropper. Cavatina says, "Does Lieutenant Marla McIvers fall under red shirt stereotype since she eventually loses her life?" Oh, eventually. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But she doesn't die during the run of the show. Until we get to the movie. That's a good question. Does she count as a red shirt? Sure.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually. It just takes a while.
Yeah, and I like Phantom Outsider's comment.
Okay, could you read it?
Phantom Outsider in the chat says, "Also, Marla is a very fast artist. Look, the painting is already dry in less than a day. Can we stay crazy person?"
Yeah.
A little obsessed, I guess.
Definitely.
I want you to paint me, Marla, like one of your tyrannical leaders.
Right? I want to be next to Hitler and the rest.
Hey, celery for dinner.
Celery, bacon, and cubed fruit, maybe.
Hey, the cubes, the food cubes. I love the food cubes.
They look like fruit.
Yes.
I actually didn't have any dialogue for this. I just took the screen.
I like how they dusted off the dress uniforms.
Yeah, they did. They got.
Yes, and I love that what Khan is wearing. It looks fantastic.
Yes.
I couldn't pull that off. That's usually I'm all about the fashion and say I want that, especially when we're doing the quantum leaps with Al's clothes. And that looks great, but I could never pull that off.
Yeah, I don't have a chance for it. I'd have to zip it up and I don't want to make anybody sick.
So Khan visits MacGyver's quarters, delighted that she's changed her hair for him, but even more impressed that she would decide to paint a portrait of him.
Looking mean and angry.
Yeah, along with other leaders of the past.
I think Sikhs wear a blue turban.
Oh, well, maybe. Interesting.
Yeah, because it looks like she just went crazy with the red for some reason. Maybe she just had an attack or something. I don't know.
Khan says, "I'm honored, thank you. But I caution you. Such men dare take what they want." And that's the point where he kisses her, so. And she responds to it.
Well, but then, it gets a little aggressive.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
she fills up his back.
Right. She's a little hesitant at first, but she, as you can see, eventually goes right in for it.
That's about as central as it gets in Star Trek.
Do they even show that anymore in movies now after the lockdowns and COVID? I don't think they show that anymore, do they?
What, people kissing?
Uh-huh. Especially
Yes,
that
they
passion of
do.
it.
Yes,
Okay.
they do.
I just can't remember the last time I saw a movie where people kissed like that. Sorry, go ahead, Jill.
No, that's okay.
Meanwhile, back to the Saurian Brandy.
All right.
Post 2020, it's all high fives. That's it. That's all they do. And then they Purell.
Well, don't they bump elbows or something like that, I think?
You may now elbow the bride.
Not in the chest.
Well, I also love all of this delving into the history of the Star Trek universe and the debate about it with Spock and Khan. And so just one line of that is Khan says, "Tyranny, sir, or an attempt to unify humanity." And Spock says, "Unify, sir, like a team of animals under one whip." And so there's more to that debate. It's really good. It's just, it would just be me just reading it, and it's really great.
Right, and they're kind of teasing Spock. They're joking, and Spock doesn't realize it.
Yes, and it's good. Clearly, Spock is one of the very few on the ship who's not fawning over the apparent magnificence and majesty.
Right,
on.
right. He's the only one that has the due suspicions,
Yes.
which is why he's doing the investigating in the background.
Yes, exactly. And Khan says, "You're an excellent tactician, Captain. You let your second in command attack while you sit and watch for weakness." And Kirk tries to bring it back to more of a laid-back social engagement, but Khan is treating this more seriously. So Kirk reflects that, asking why he fled, whether he's afraid. And that also that Khan left at the very time mankind needed courage.
By mankind needed courage.
We offered the world order.
Nice.
Another peaceful man.
Right. And from that moment, the crew, he reveals himself there. So the crew
Right.
knows who he is there at that
And
point.
he realizes he revealed himself when he says excellent. And he compliments Kirk on his mastery of manipulation.
He does. Right. I could just read the entire screenplay of this.
I know. Let's
episode.
just play
It's
the
so
episode.
perfect. Yeah, right?
Right,
Let's just play it right here.
Right, nothing is as good as that. So we encourage everybody to watch this if you haven't already. Watch it for the 116th time.
Yeah, for my 1-year anniversary, I'm going to get a copyright strike.
They'll yank us so fast, we won't even last another 5 seconds.
No, I know.
We're not doing phrasing anymore?
Sad.
So, this is a great scene to show how more people than just Marla are falling over themselves for Khan, and she's a representation of how most of the crew feel about Khan, but she just dials it up past 11 to the point of jeopardizing the whole entire crew.
I grow fatigued again.
He's fatigued. And
Again.
this time Marla visits him. And this is probably one of the most chilling, terrifying, powerful moments in the episode. When he asks Marla to help him take over the ship. And probably this is one of the lines I should have got a capture for of the... No, I didn't get it. But he says... Here, you've got a much better con, Scotty. I don't have one at all. And
Go or stay, but do it because it is what you wish to do. Well,
right. He knows he has full control over when he says that, so he knows what she's going to do.
I've used that line and it works.
I've used that line and I was arrested.
I used it. I didn't yell it at the lady, but I said, if you want to go, go, or you can stay, but do it because it's what you want to do. And she stayed.
Wow, and she didn't even know what you were.
No, she had no idea I was quoting Star Trek, so it was great.
Good goodness.
According to the Book of Khan, yes.
Ahoy! Tony, Stark of Iron.
That's
Good
an
to see you,
idea.
Tony.
Hi,
Stark of-
Tony. Hi, Tony Stark.
Good to see you.
Thanks for announcing his presence here, because I'm over here in the episode. Marla makes her big mistake following for following for Khan here, but apparently it worked for Scotty too.
It did, and not Montgomery Scott.
Right.
I didn't do this though. I never did this.
Good.
Yeah, that would have been arrested.
This is the part where when I said terrifying,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, yeah, she falters to the emotion she's feeling for him, wanting to help him despite the danger and the fear.
That's what I was thinking too. She's infatuated, but she still fears him.
Yes, and finally, Spock identifies Khan as Khan Noonien Singh from 1992 through 1996. Absolute ruler of more than a quarter of your world, from Asia through the Middle East. And McCoy says, the last of the tyrants to be overthrown. And although Kirk isn't endangering the ship like Marla is, here's Kirk's version of swooning over Khan. He says, he was the best of the tyrants and the most dangerous. They were supermen, in a sense. Stronger, braver, certainly more ambitious, more daring. And Spock is about as shocked and appalled at this as a Vulcan can possibly allow himself to be. He says, gentlemen, this romanticism about a ruthless dictator is... And Kirk says, Mr. Spock, we humans have a streak of barbarism in us. Appalling, but there, nevertheless. You
That's right.
misunderstand us.
That's right. It was my mistake. This is where they're having fun with Spock.
Yeah. We can be against him and admire him all the same. Yeah, they're making fun of him. They're laughing about it. And this shows how the men are captivated with Khan, similar to Marla, but of course they don't jeopardize the ship like she's going to do. And in so discovering his identity, they put a guard on Khan's room, and we get a great scene with Khan and Kirk. And I thought it looked really weird at first that Khan is wearing a red uniform.
Well, I think doesn't that reflect engineering because he said he was an engineer?
Absolutely. Then that's when I remembered.
Yeah.
That line. I was once an engineer of sorts. And that's the line that he says when he says he wants to read the technical manuals.
Yep.
So Kirk finally gets some answers, namely that Khan led an expedition in order to build a new world for himself and his followers. One of the best lines of this scene is, oh, I want Scotty to read this. So I'm going to go to the chat and wait for Scotty to get back because this is too much Khan for me to read not correctly.
Okay.
So, and I do have a bit of chat too. So let's see. Oh, and Retro Nerd Girl says, this is one of my favorite episodes. Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
It's incredible. It's an incredible episode. Incredible science fiction. It isn't just the characterization. It's the implications of the technology presented. Phantom Outsider. Hey, Phantom Outsider. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Phantom Outsider.
Oh, look, Naru jacket. Okay. And Terry Rose says, Bashir could pull off Khan's yellow outfit. You're right. He could. Absolutely. A charismatic killer, says James Caserta. And Captain
the most dangerous type, yes.
Yes, exactly. You know, the less dangerous ones are the ones that come at you with a knife or a weapon.
Right, you can see a mile away, but yes, the scariest ones are the ones that come up right to your face and you don't know it or suspect.
Yeah, right. And they're friendly and you think that they're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Captain Finity says, tilts head to the right. Kisses with eyes closed. Oh, he was examining how the Khan kiss was going. Mega Cropper says, I'll hold my hands up. Julian Bashir is my favorite doctor. Wow. That is incredible. James Caserta says, tush slap. Edge of Time says, ooh-wee. And that's probably about one of the quotes I played. Probably this one.
Mankind needed courage.
We offered the world order.
That was probably that one. Music cue. And Fountain Outsider said, what Khan neglected to say was that the offer of order came via his army of telemarketers. But nobody likes telemarketers. His one miscalculation. And Lemon Pie says, Scotty grows fatigued of his various lovers.
That's not true.
Sean Carter says, I forgot my other little gripe. The scene where Kirk, Poe, and Scotty are explaining to Spock why they admire Khan. The forced laughter in that scene was horrible. Oh, enjoyed it.
It's too bad we didn't play that clip. That would have been.
No, I know.
Would have been interesting to take a look at.
Mm-hmm. And Stark of Iron, Tony Stark loves this episode.
Yes, Tony, I agree with you. I guess we should call him Stark of Iron because everybody's saying, why are we calling him Tony? But
I'm going to call him Tony. Tony's his name.
Yeah, me too, if that's okay. Stark of Iron.
I'm pretty sure it's okay. Well, I mean, if you want to be called Stark of Iron, then I will. Up to you. I don't know. Yeah, it is up to Stark of Iron. Let us know if it's okay. Phantom Outsider says, the ruler of a quarter of the world. Here's his mugshot.
And that's a big section of the world, too. The Middle East and Asia. Yeah, that's pretty much most of the world.
Yeah. They did the same. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, this is a good idea. Definitely do that. James Caserta says, they did the same with Hitler. They complimented his efficiency.
Yes. Unfortunately, but yes, they did.
And Phantom Outsider says, if only he had written Defoe with him.
Willem Dafoe. It's actually Willem, W-I-L-E-M.
I was something of an engineer. I'm something of a scientist myself.
Nice.
Herc 130 says, you are an excellent tactician, Joe. You let your second in command, Scotty, attack while you sit and watch for weakness. And, actually, yes, that's exactly what I was doing. I was waiting for you to come back so that. Oh, and Stark Ryan says, call me Tony. The channel name is just a legal thing. Yes.
Gotcha,
okay,
Tony.
Good. I've been wanting to call you Tony. Okay.
Cool.
You have lawyers?
Apparently. Scotty, could you read what's in the private chat?
Absolutely.
It's by Khan.
Captain, although your abilities intrigue me, you are quite honestly inferior, mentally, physically. In fact, I'm surprised how little improvement there has been in human evolution. Oh, there's been technical advancement, but how little man himself has changed. Yes, it appears we will do well in your century, Captain. Do you have any other questions?
But he doesn't. Kirk has no other questions. He's got everything he needs to know. And the guard resumes his post, and Khan summons some kind of inner strength and wrenches the door open.
It's more eugenics yoga.
Yeah, and he knocks the guard out with a single blow. Marla is holding the phaser on the transporter chief. Kyle, right?
Yes.
And because
he's like, what?
Because he didn't talk in this episode, so I wasn't. Okay, thank you. Khan comes in and incapacitates him at the pressure base of his skull.
Right, the nerve pinch. So somehow Spock knows it too, without clubbing him.
But he does the double pinch on either side of his neck.
Yes, double pinch.
Yeah, it's a different one, but it did remind me of the neck pinch too. And so she beams Khan to Botany Bay so he can reunite with his followers. And more yoga.
More eugenics yoga.
By the way, the Botany Bay model was later recycled as an ore freighter in the Ultimate Computer.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
neat.
I'm looking forward. You're great. I am great.
Although only one hallway of the Botany Bay is seen in detail, the design crew took the time and effort to build the beginnings of several other corridors with their own life support canvases, despite their only being seen for a few seconds.
Oh, you're kind of fading out, but that sounds really cool. I'd like to have seen that.
Fading out? Sorry about that. Let me check my connections.
Yeah. Oh, and hello to Sci-Fi Nation. I see he just dropped in the chat there.
Hey, sci-fi.
And Khan says, I kind of just want you to read all of Khan now because I can't do it.
Thank you. Otto, Joaquin, the trip is over. The battle begins again. Only this time it is not a world we win. It is a new universe. Katie?
Yeah. Oh, that's her name. So he's just like saying hi
Kate?
to her. She's just
Right.
dancing over him.
Sup, girl?
Exactly. That's what he says. He
Yeah,
says
that's
exactly that.
he said. Sup, girl?
Then on the bridge, it's found out that a trip to the Botany Bay is not all Khan has done because, of course, he needs a starship too. He shut down the communications and the turbo lift, and he's turned off atmospheric controls. He cannot. Kirk can't get Scotty to override any of this because Khan's also taken over engineering. Kirk can't even flood the ship with neural gas because of Khan's expertise from the technical manuals and because the person with the greater knowledge, Scotty, is passed. Some time passes and everyone on the bridge is knocked out except for Kirk.
Considering the circumstances and the fact that they have a bunch of supervillains aboard their ship, this easily could have been a 2-part episode. It would have been even better, I think.
You think so? Wow.
Yeah, they could have done so much more. It's a good thing we got Wrath of Khan.
Then maybe we could have seen more of those Botany Bay sets
Quarters?
that you're talking about.
Yeah, and a little bit more of them taking over the ship and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then,
Maybe a little bit of Chekhov.
Right, but well, it's the same with Star Trek V. I always felt bad that we didn't see more of the crew defending the Enterprise from being taken over. I wish we'd have seen a little more of that.
Yeah, right. This just happened all of a sudden.
Yeah, so just like Star Trek V, right? In fact, it happened off screen in Star Trek V.
Yeah. Oh,
And
you
Star
read-
Trek 2.
Pop Culture Curator, could you read the next Captain's Log? We're at the next one.
Captain's Log, Stardate 3142.8. They have my ship discarding their own worthless vessel. Only moments of air left on the bridge now. Commendations recommended for Lieutenant Uhura, Technicians First Class Thule, and Harrison, Lieutenant Spinelli, and of course Mr. Spock. I take full responsibility. I take full... Captain Kirk passes out. And I wanted to mention that they discarded the Botany Bay off into deep space, correct?
Well,
So did they bring cargo bays aboard the Enterprise? Because they apparently gave them cargo bays to live in on the surface of City Alpha 5 because it shows Chekhov with a seat buckle.
Right. I would assume that they go back for the Botany Bay and use it as the makeshift shelters on SETI Alpha 5.
Okay, yeah.
Once they regain control of it, just because they wouldn't lose track of it, they don't really go far. It just sets off adrift, and all you got to do is scan for it. I would think.
That's possible, right? So they use their tractor beams maybe to lower it down to the planet for them to live in.
Possibly.
But then Khan said these cargo bays to sustain it. It's not this vessel.
Well, but so part of it.
I don't know. It's just nitpicking. Sorry. Go ahead, Jill.
Well, yeah, that's always fun.
Mm-hmm. We wouldn't be Star Trek fans if we didn't nitpick.
No. So the senior staff, they're awake again, listening to Khan. Oh, hey, I have I have a lot of quotes here.
Oh, heavens. Nothing ever changes except man. Your technical accomplishments improve a mechanical device and you may double your productivity, but improve man and you gain 1,000-fold. I am such a man. Join me. I'll treat you well. I need your training to operate a vessel this complex.
But of course, the crew makes no move to agree, so Khan turns to Uhura, who isn't having it either.
Where
Poor
is
her.
Captain
She's
Kirk?
treated horribly in this episode.
And he sees that she's communications officer and asks her to engage the viewing screen. Uhura doesn't move, so Joaquin drags her to the table and hits her. Yeah, no, it's terrible.
It is. Poor her.
But it is also a powerful scene for her at the same time.
Well, and you can see the Enterprise crew members react like they want to do something.
Right.
Well, and that defiance as well. It's an excellent character moment.
Yeah, she's steady
It is her,
even in
yeah.
the face of danger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's no Marla MacGyver's.
Yeah, even though she's seen that Kirk is suffocating in the decompression chamber, her loyalty is unbreakable here. And I don't know what it is. What finally, I guess maybe seeing this, Marla stops this after this before he hits her again.
Thank goodness.
And I'm just guessing maybe he's inspired. Maybe Marla's inspired by Uhura. Maybe that's why she decides at this point that she must save Captain Kirk.
Right. I think that's when she's starting to realize that she's getting into it a little more deeply than she thought, or this is getting worse than she expected.
Yes. She definitely said that she didn't want anybody being hurt, and that's
Right.
what she's seeing happening.
Right. She says that she defends her from getting hit again, and then she says, do I have to sit here and watch this, pretty much?
Right. And luckily for her, Khan underestimates her and allows her to go.
As shall be his undoing.
And Khan goes from demanding the entire crew to turn over to just accepting one crew, just one of them to turn. But when that doesn't work, when the crew continues to stick together, he makes the most devastating announcement.
Anybody who's been trained to be in that situation knows not to give in, because, and most likely, he's still going to kill him anyway. So, yeah, you know not to give in. That's the whole reason why you don't give up, because they're going to kill them anyway.
Yes, and even though I've seen this many times over, even though I know Captain Kirk's not dead, but the way that Khan phrases it and the way that Uhura bears her face into her hands at the news was a pretty emotional scene to watch in this episode.
Oh, my stars. The caption to that one, you want a fresh one? Too much? Probably too much.
Well, no, that's exactly how
That's how bad guys act. That's how bad guys act. Yeah.
That's how it feels. No, that's correct. Khan says it doesn't matter. The captain is dead. Take Mr. Spock next.
Right. He should suspicion why the monitor went off, but oh well.
Why the monitor went off? Excuse me?
Right. They said the monitor went off, and he said it doesn't matter. He's dead anyway. And this is where they established that the decompression chamber is just off the sick bay, apparently. Because she walks through sick bay to get to it.
Yes.
And I think these two, the decompression chamber and the cryogenic tubes, were both used in the Lights of Zetar as well.
Yes. It's a great set. I love the design of it.
Yeah, that's great. Marla instructs the guard to check more closely on Captain Kirk so that she can inject him with something that knocks him out.
Right, look over there. I hate to...
It works.
Right, it does.
The actor who plays this augment is named John Ardent. And in this episode, his character name is Fields. But in other episodes, he had a role in Miri and in Dagger of the Mind. So he's been a background character before. He passes out And oh yeah, there's his shoes on the bottom. And
He's taking a nap.
yeah, she repressurizes the chamber, freeing Kirk, and in so doing, pleads with him to not kill Khan. The outer sick bay door opens, and Kirk tackles Spock's guard. And Spock takes him down with the neck pinch.
Nice.
Yep. This is why, I mean, didn't you, everybody as a kid wish you knew the Vulcan nerve pinch?
Well, I started watching Star Trek when I was 19, but yes. And Spock is instructed to release anesthesia gas on all the decks except for the one they're on. And Khan's moved to engineering and listens to the intercom, hearing Captain Kirk is heading for engineering. So Kirk goes to engineering, straight into Khan, who does here's the gas first.
Yes.
This gas scene is done pretty well. Everybody works in concert really nicely.
Right. And I was wondering, Jill, if I could, this is the clip I'd like to show of the outtake from this scene from in this room.
Please do.
Okay, let me call it up here. This will be an outtake from this episode, which you guys will see soon enough. Give me just a moment here.
Sure.
I'll pull it up.
Sean Carter says, in a way, Spock complimented the country. Most efficient state Earth ever knew. And Herc 130 is complimenting your Khan, which I also enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, here
Very much.
Here we go. There we go. This is from this episode.
You're patient, but you owe me something. In case you've forgotten, I saved your life.
He's stunned only. I will avoid the bloodshed, if possible. I'm sure you approve.
I approve only of the logic with which you took control of our vessel. Brilliant.
Nice.
And that's it. Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome. Thank you for the deleted scene. I had seen that scene before. I've seen that a while back.
Excellent.
Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
I do like that Spock line, but I always like Spock's lines.
I'm glad they cut that line. That's a little more than we would want to hear Spock say about.
Yeah, well,
Khan,
it kind of makes him fall in line with the rest of the crew falling over him. And it was cooler that he didn't. I you know what, I agree. Phantom Outsider says the Vulcan neck pinch is actually real, although not recommended. All you need to do is pinch block the carotid artery, lack of blood flow, person passed out, very dangerous.
How long would that take?
I remember the knockout game in grade school, and kids would do it behind the school, and you just held it down, and you would knock yourself out.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
No, it's basically like a chokehold.
Basically, I guess it's cutting off blood to your brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Yes. Wow. Sean Carter said, I just realized that Kyle reprised his role as comm officer on the Reliant. Poor guy couldn't get a break from Khan.
No, you're right about that, right?
And Phantom Outsider said, why didn't they get the transporter to just beam them into space by augments? Well, they don't exactly have control of the ship yet.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that when we get to those scenes.
Yeah.
The judgment.
Mm-hmm. And Sci-Fi Nation says 60% of all Trek episodes could have been solved using the transporter. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, there's some truth in that. James Caserta says, high concept is king, or should be. Hey, and Tyron's here. Tyron Lethbridge says.
Hello.
Ahoy.
I can't do an Australian accent. But
G'day, guys. That was terrible. I'm sorry. G'day.
No.
I won't do it again.
No, it was better. Well, you know what? It's better than mine. I don't have one at all.
And
I
Phantom
lived there.
Outsider is right about this.
Okay, please read it.
Phantom Outsider in the chat says the problem with the decompression is it might have taken quite a while to bring Kirk out without him getting the bends. Yes, that's what deep sea divers have that issue with. If they come up too quickly, instant death and very painful.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely. I've never tried scuba diving, but I have heard about that. You get the same problem when you're in a submarine.
Yep. In fact, it takes hours for your body to decompress. They have to sit in the decompression chamber for hours.
And Cardinal Sin says Spock had to do a double nerve pinch on Khan because Khan was genetically superior.
Did you do a pinch on Khan?
Did he?
I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember bonk bonk on the back. Not the head, interestingly enough.
Wow. Okay. Cool. James Caserta says maybe Spock wants to pretend to be a traitor. Oh, with the deleted scene.
He's just playing make believe.
Well, just getting Khan's good books.
Right.
Yeah, maybe he was trying to play an angle that they cut out of the writing.
Right, and I doubt that Spock would be the last person on the ship that Khan's going to trust, especially after the interrogation scene earlier.
Oh. And so this is the part after this where Kirk heads to engineering to meet up with Khan.
And here we get our classic fight. And suddenly, William Shatner and Ricardo Montalban disappear and were replaced by two other men.
I do like the bending and the crushing of the phaser as well.
Oh, me too.
Yes.
And also, Khan informs Kirk that he's initiated an overload to destroy the ship. And
Which I'm assuming he means the warp engines, I guess, right?
Yes. And here's the crushing of the phaser.
Yeah.
Which is, we could tell everybody that the part of a phaser is a phaser and the other part is rubber. But it's okay.
No, yeah, I believe it. And of course,
And Khan stands like I dare you, pretty much, right?
Yes, and since Khan can basically toss Kirk around like a rag doll, like pop culture said, they use stunt doubles.
Right now, who's that? Who's that?
And there's Kirk, but then
he gets a double fist to the back twice, and it
I
still
like the
doesn't take
scissor
him
legs.
I love this too. Go ahead.
Oh, there's the jump kick, the scissor legs, everything.
Well, I know.
Well, the reason why I like using the legs is that I think Kirk realizes he can't match Khan's upper body strength, so he goes for using his lower body strength, which would have more force.
And I have to honestly say, I miss having. I wish we had Gerald Fried battle music in here, but unfortunately, we'll have to wait till mock time to hear that.
Yes. And he says just how much stronger he is. He says he's 5 times as strong.
But Kirk puts up a good fight.
Yeah, oh, no kidding. And he makes up for not having the strength by getting a weapon.
I have 5 times your strength, Captain.
And then Kirk starts just beating him with the whatever that is.
Right, whatever that is. And on the back, which makes him go to sleep for some reason.
Yeah. He beats him. He clubs him.
Well, yeah, I guess because on the head would have been the sensors would not allow on the head. So he beats him in the back a few times and he passes out. And I thought, okay. I can understand immobilizing him, but that makes him go unconscious. But oh well.
No, you're right. That makes sense. The
sensors aren't going to allow him to hit him on the head. That'd be a little too much.
I didn't think about that. That the sensors don't allow head trauma to be depicted.
Especially not on screen, right?
That was
they would just at the time they would just show them right. They would show people get hit in the back of the head like the butt of a gun or something, but nothing with like a club like that. And Kirk's wearing some odd shoes, isn't he? Or pants. That's not his usual fare. Obviously, the stuntmen are wearing different shoes, or
that's what it is. You're right.
Yeah, it looks like they lace up or something.
But
And Phantom Outsider says he became fatigued again.
You just need a little help. That's all.
yes, and this is definitely Terry Rose is right. This is Kirk Fu.
Kirk Fu, right? The best of the Kirk Fu.
And Phantom Outsider says my grandfather on my dad's side was 5'2", barely 100 pounds, Filipino Spanish guy, who took out 3 attackers while protecting his daughter and my brother.
That's right. You
Awesome.
never know. It's not the size that counts.
Right. Phantom Outsider says he wasn't 5 times as strong. He wasn't 5 times stronger than a steel rod to the back of the head.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, just like pop culture says, that's exactly what Kirk would have actually done. But you're saying that the censors wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, and not only that though, but Kirk wouldn't do something like that. You would imagine him clubbing somebody on the head over and over. I don't know.
And I agree. Rest in peace, Gerald Freed.
Yes, thank you, James. Shout out to rest in peace, Gerald Freed, who passed this previous week at the beautiful old age of 95.
And Lemon Pie says the eugenics didn't help with his chronic fatigue.
That's the one thing they forgot to filter out, I guess.
Eugenics and narcolepsy.
I gotta read that again because I just started laughing in the middle of it. The eugenics didn't help with his chronic fatigue syndrome. And so, yes, Kirk stops the overload and saves the ship. And we get the final captain's log.
Yeah, see, how did they subdue all the other Superman? It's like, oh well.
Because of the gas.
Well, yeah, that's true, I guess. And they just put them in the brig, I imagine, maybe.
Right. And the entire crew stood guard because, you got to have like 3 officers for each.
Yeah, there's 3 officers now on con, so they learned their lesson, yeah.
And so
this is the inevitable discussion. Go ahead.
Oh, can you read the last captain's log here, Pop Culture Creator?
Oh, me? Captain's log, stardate 3143.3. Control of the Enterprise has been regained. I wish my next decisions were no more difficult. Khan and his people, what a waste to put them in a reorientation center. And what do I do about MacGyvers?
So Kirk decides to drop the charges against Khan and his group if they live on this inhospitable but habitable planet. And MacGyvers. So that's how they pull it back to that idea that the original episode was based on, the idea of it being a prisoner ship where they cast off the prisoners to live alone. So that's how this episode actually ends, the way that the original episode was going to be. Right.
And did they mention, yes or no, if there's any currently living civilization on that planet? Because isn't this a direct negative of the Prime Directive? Because
if there were people there.
If there were, but they didn't even mention if there were. But
I didn't hear that there were.
No.
They didn't say one way or the other.
No.
There is not one Disney World on this planet.
Well, they said it was hostile, which made me wonder. Hostile from what? Oh well.
The elements, I would think.
Elements.
That's animals. What I assumed. Yes, the flora and fauna.
Killer flora and fauna.
Could be
the Great Vegetable Rebellion. Yes.
MacGyvers is given the choice between going with Khan and a court-martial, so
God, which is so crazy, but okay, I know.
Crazy. So she
right. She'd be in Leavenworth for the rest of her life, but oh well.
Mm-hmm. So he accepts living on the planet, referencing John Milton's Paradise Lost. And I like when Scotty asks who Milton is, so we can understand what they're talking about. And Kirk,
well, I do want to slightly correct you there because I want to give some credit to Montgomery Scott. Is that he doesn't say he doesn't know who Milton is. He just says he's not up on his Milton. So he is aware of Milton and Paradise Lost. He just doesn't know the passage.
Yeah, and he knows that it's shameful for him to not know as a Scotsman.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the correction. I didn't phrase that correctly. Kirk says the statement Lucifer made when he fell into the pit. It is better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven. And finally, Spock gives us the curiosity for the future that later inspires Harv Bennett to make a movie about Khan. Well, the whole episode does it, but Spock says, "It would be interesting, Captain, to return to that world in 100 years and to learn what crop is sprung from the seed you planted today."
And apparently there was a cut line saying, I hope Khan never leaves. I hope he never achieves the ability to leave this planet. But it was cut.
Oh, that's an interesting line.
Yeah, because I was wondering about that too. They could eventually, I don't know. It's just they're too dangerous to just let them go. But oh well.
Right, exactly, and that would be another reason why they would keep tabs on them.
Yeah.
And so
Admiral Kirk never bothered to check on our progress.
Guest star, obviously, Khan, Ricardo Montalban, and guest star Madeline Rue as Marla. And as we were mentioning earlier, DeForest Kelly is still at the end credits for season 1 for Dr. McCoy and James Dillon. And Spinelli, I guess he was like either the navigator or the pilot.
Yeah, he was the helmsman. He was the helmsman, unnamed. He later shows up again as helmsman Singh.
Oh, well, I guess he's Spinelli. And his actor's name is Blaisdell Mackey.
Blaisdell? Uh-huh.
And Joaquin, one of the augments, is played by Mark Tobin.
And John Winston doesn't even have Kyle as his character name as of yet, but I guess he didn't have any lines, so that makes sense.
Oh, okay. That's why I wasn't sure. I was trying to look in the script to see who the transporter officer was, but he didn't have lines, like you said. So I couldn't figure out if it was Kyle, but I felt like he was Kyle. So I'm glad I was right. And there was a crew woman. I don't know who, but her name was Kathy Ahert.
Would she have been the nurse?
Oh, the nurse who's not Chapel.
Right.
Yes. Okay, great. You figured it out. That's probably right. But if not, don't.
I don't have any facts to back this up. I'm doing this all by memory.
Yeah. And the book has one more thing. Let's see here. Let me stop my screen. And so about the quote that Spock said about how it'd be interesting to return in 100 years, the book says, "Be careful what you wish for, Spock. Long after the end of their 5-year mission on the Enterprise and its crew would again encounter Khan, Nooney, and Singh, and learn that the circumstances on Ceti Alpha 5 had sprouted a very bitter crop. Once a rational, albeit power-hungry tyrant. The Khan that Kirk encounters in 1982 Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, is a madman, driven insane by the hardships he has endured on the hellish planet to which he was consigned. The person behind the return of Khan is Harv Bennett, producer and co-writer of Star Trek II. It was Bennett whom Paramount Pictures turned to when the studio decided to make a sequel to Star Trek, the motion picture. He was known more for his success on network television, The Mod Squad, The $6 Million Man, and The Bionic Woman, than his motion picture acumen, but Paramount was counting on Bennett's reputation for producing well-made, action-packed adventures, on time and within a set budget. When he got the assignment, Bennett admits, "I was an ignoramus about Star Trek, so I spent 3 months watching episodes with an eye to potential source material." Bennett wanted to create a classic story, pitting the hero Kirk against a strong villain. The stronger the antagonist, he reasoned, the greater the achievement of the protagonist. And when he saw Space Seed, Bennett recalls, "I had one of those eureka moments. I can't think of a stronger antagonist in the history of Star Trek than Khan. All the elements that he needed were right there," he continued. "A Superman in exile, a guest actor who was still available. It all made such sense.
And right, and who would have a vendetta for Kirk?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to mention producer Gene L. Kuhn told Kerry Wilbur that his work was the best outline he had seen during his time on Star Trek. Fellow producer Bob Justman was less enthusiastic. He compared it negatively to Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers and felt the concept would be too expensive to film. Though there were also concerns that an unsolicited script submitted by science fiction author Philip Jose Farmer resembled the proposed plot, which, as Gene Roddenberry had corresponded with Farmer, might lead to litigation. So that's also why there was a lot of rewriting and changing to it.
Excuse me. Wow. Okay. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on with the script writing there.
Yeah, and Bob Justman didn't like the original treatment, apparently, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He thought it was too expensive?
Wait, no, he thought it was too much like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon.
Oh. Okay.
And also that right, that it would be too expensive to film.
Yeah, he thought, yeah.
Oh, and Matt G sent, oh wait, there it is. Matt G sent a tip for $1. He says, as opposed to an uninhabitable but hospitable. Hey, I can't really breathe here, but damn, they Whataburger here. Goodness, Matt G.
Yeah, why don't they move to California? We need some of those here. They would do great.
Yeah, some in and out competition.
Exactly.
Welcome to Good Burger.
Home of the Good Burger. May I take your order?
Thank you for finishing that for me.
I had to. Phantom Outsider says Khan was a victim of undiagnosed Lyme disease. McCoy could have cured it, but he knew about the telemarketers. Wow, Phantom Outsider is making his own fan fiction here.
Headcanon.
Yes. And Cavatino says, good thing no one told Khan about drinking Red Bull to treat his fatigue syndrome. The original Sin, Edge of Time says, was cannibalized by apes.
Cannibalism by apes.
Oh, cannibalism by apes. Eating the pituitary glands caused the curse that we call consciousness.
What about adrenochrome? Let's do some adrenochrome. That'll get you.
What movie is that from?
I'm not sure. Edge of Time does, though.
Yeah. That sounds like it's from some kind of movie. Phantom Outsider says, there were no people, no civilization. JD Lewis says, great show today, but once again.
I grew fatigued.
Good night, JD Lewis.
Good night, JD.
Yeah, I guess it's that emotional roller coaster there.
It was. This episode is that. And then you watch the movie, it's the same. Phantom Outsider says, also the Botany Bay did have a nuclear powered engine, so they should have had power, or as Khan said,
unlimited power.
Oops, wrong franchise. Flowers usually grow out of shit, says James Caserta. Yeah, fertilizer, yes. That's why I read it, because it was a statement of fact. Matt G is Texas built. And Mega Cropper says, can we discuss Picard at season 3, episode 1 now? Sure. It was dark and I wasn't too impressed, but at the same time, I wasn't too horrified. But it's not Star Trek. But I'm going to continue watching it and talking about it.
And I don't know if this is true, but when I'm reading, it says the sector of space where the Enterprise discovers the Botany Bay adrift is ironically also where Khan detonates the Genesis torpedo at the end of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Well, I suppose it would.
Oh, neat.
I suppose it would have to be. Just because if they drop them on SETI Alpha 5 and it doesn't take too long for the Reliant to get from SETI Alpha 5 to Regula 1, which is in the Mutara sector. So it's possible. I was looking that up because I was wondering I wanted to see if they mentioned that they were patrolling the Mutara sector at the beginning of the episode, but I couldn't find anything. Maybe I didn't look hard enough.
Well, thank you for asking the question.
And
so
apparently,
that question is still out there for people to answer.
Right, and I guess Khan goes through a record 5 changes of costume for a male cast member of the original series, which, yeah, I had never thought about that, but that's a lot.
That is true. He does change his clothes.
Maybe that's why he's so fatigued, is he's got so many costume changes.
Right, spending so much
Pardon me,
time
I
in the
must
dressing
return
room.
to my wardrobe.
Yeah, meet me in my trailer.
In the original script, the Botany Bay's log stated that the ship was originally headed for the Tau Ceti star system. Examination of the ship reveals a damaged steering system, which has sent the Botany Bay careening off course into deep space. In a way, that would explain why the ship was cockeyed going through space. It wasn't on course anywhere. It was just drifting.
Yes. And why it appeared where it shouldn't have.
Yes.
And Edge of Time is right. Built this for Friday.
Or Thursday.
Or Thursday, if you want to visit the Phantasmagorium. I'm there, and I talked to Scotty about it. And Scotty R37. Bantam Outsider says, this episode lends itself to Kirk's future judicious
I think he means judicious, J-U-D,
Yes.
I think.
I agree. That's what I was saying. Judicious use of steel rods on opponents. It was either judicious or I was going to say juiciest.
Juiciness.
It's juicy. So Retro Nerd Girl says, great stream, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Nerd Girl. And,
Thank you very much, Retro Nerd.
and everybody subscribe to Retro Nerd Girl. Also, she does really cool reviews about all sorts of retro movies and everything, and she's been having watch party live watch parties lately also.
Very cool. Yeah,
classic films.
Thank you. Very nice. Thanks for coming and hanging out at Jill's house for a little while.
Yes, thank you. And Terry Rose says McKay K. Blaisdell. McKay K. Blaisdell was an American actor. One of his major roles was playing the title character in the short film Johnny Lingo. From Wikipedia.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Thank you, Terry. And Tony says, Khan is my favorite antagonist by far in the original series. Well, see, that's because he's a straight-up villain. Most of the time in TOS you have antagonists. But this is one of the cases where he's villain.
They sort of threw it around in the writer's room, but they thought that Wrath of Mud would be not as exciting.
Well, remember, originally it was supposed to be the return of Khan. But then they thought it was going to sound like it was going to, yeah. But, well, right, because wasn't Star Wars going to be calling it Revenge of the Jedi at the time?
That's right,
like that, right? Yeah, and they didn't want to get, so.
Oh, okay, so they didn't want to match that.
Yeah, it was around the same time, so they didn't want to sound too similar, so it was changed to Wrath.
I would also go for Wrath of Cyrano Jones.
I would love to have seen that in a different dimension, or
could be a good parody.
The incredible anger of Captain Tracy. The somewhat miffed nature of that lady from the Brain episode.
It's hard to picture Cyrano Jones as a mean guy.
No, he's not. So it would be just a comedy of errors of him accidentally doing things that are not right. And,
right.
Tony Stark says he's a monster without any downsides, a force of human potential. Physiologically versus the message of the peaceful future through technology and science that Star Trek represents. And he reminds me that we got to review this episode too. So for me, the acting and characterization was incredible and that's stellar, but I'm going to leave that to you guys because for me, this was incredible science fiction because it deals not only with the potentiality of non-warp long-distance spaceflight with suspended animation, but the even more contentious idea of genetically manipulating human beings for improvements on the species or, so-called improvements, which is something we get close to practicing in reality and what started to become called designer babies in the early 2000s. Genetic codes can be manipulated to choose gender, but, also turn off and on certain sequences to keep someone from suffering predisposed genetic conditions that had been passed down through genetics. But
yes, genetic manipulation. Yeah.
But of course, the implication is that it wouldn't only be used to prevent illness, but to craft human beings with superior mental and physical abilities, and the unintended consequences that could happen when you tamper with that.
Right, and who's to stop them, right?
Right. Khan was superior intellectually and physically, but as was also seen, he had severe mental disorders. He also was crazy. He also became a megalomaniac and extremely Machiavellian. Absolutely frightening things can happen when you start to play with genetic structures that you don't exactly understand. But it is something that we're close to. We're close to this being on the horizon as the AI advances we've been talking about in the last couple episodes. So that is why Star Trek is so enduring, because even as it gets older, it becomes more and more relevant as the science fiction ideas become closer to reality, and the time in which we must decide on how we will respond to it nears.
Yeah, did you hear, Jill? They also came up with a crude elementary tractor beam.
No, that's great.
Yes, it was quite a breakthrough.
Oh, okay. I'll look that up for Friday. That's going to be a topic. Okay, thank you. So we'll have to see how this plays out for us, if this type of tampering is accepted or if it becomes more available on any kind of grand scale. And that's not even touching all of the cool character stuff in the episode. But just for one of those, I especially love the contrast between the mistakes of Marla mutinying the ship and also versus Uhura's diehard loyalty, despite the danger and pain she was inflicted with. She wouldn't quit. And I give this episode an A+.
Absolutely, yeah.
Go ahead, Scotty.
And yeah, I'm giving it an A+ as well. This is a fantastic episode, not only for setting up Star Trek II and the incredible performances by Ricardo Montalban. Well, this is a solidification of the relationships of the crew: McCoy, Spock, Scotty. Everybody's just firing on all thrusters. You get to Wrath of Khan, and then later on in I think is it A Matter of Time, when Berlinghoff Rasmussen shows up and talks about how temporal mechanics could possibly, if we save this planet, then it could bring about the next Hitler or the next Khan Singh, showing that the legacy of Khan travels forward. And then you get an Enterprise, you get the augments with Brent Spiner's return, and then of course Dr. Bashir. And the repercussions of him being genetically altered and his parents going to a penal colony for engaging in such stuff. This is
just one of the parents has to go.
Oh, just one? That's pleasant. And so, but yeah, and so it's was it Babu who had to go?
Yes.
Anyway,
yeah, it was the dad.
Yes, and
Babu.
But yeah, Babu from Seinfeld. Yes, very
Babu
bad man.
I thought it was from Jungle Book. I'm sorry.
No, that's Baloo.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No problem. And so, but yeah, and so the lasting repercussions of the eugenics wars and how it affects Star Trek moving forward. It's a pivotal linchpin in Star Trek lore, and it's fantastic. And again, if you have a chance to check out any of the beta canon, any of the books surrounding it, I would recommend it as well. While it may not be official canon, it's great storytelling throughout. A highly like, I don't think there are enough pluses.
I'm very interested in checking out all the beta canon. Thank you, Scotty. And you also watched the entire Wrath of Khan movie for this.
First time doing the back-to-back is one element. Yes, I watched Space Seed, walked the dog, came back, felt like 15 years, and watched Wrath of Khan, and it was fantastic. And the escalation on Ricardo Montalban's performance is just pitch perfect. Fantastic. And actually it's kind of unfortunate, because I was reading up on a little bit of Wrath of Khan, and Madeleine Roux, there was a like Marla MacGyver's was brought back for the script, but she was suffering from Parkinson's at the time, and they felt that it wouldn't have been fair to recast the character, so
that's why she died.
And that's why she was off screen, but still heavily referenced twice. Heavily,
right,
but twice.
But that actually worked, because then that was all the more that Khan was obsessed for his revenge on Kirk.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and also in terms of Harv Bennett, if you'd like to see him on screen, he plays the Admiral at the beginning of Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
Yes, on the big main view screen.
Which would have been, I guess, part of the dream, if you follow.
Yes.
But I don't follow that.
And that was just before he bowed out of working with Star Trek. I think
That's
it was his last Star Trek experience.
You
Well,
predicted exactly what I was thinking.
And then also, if you'd like to blame anybody for Star Trek 2009, he was the one who wanted Star Trek 6 to be the Academy years. But yeah, it's there are so many ripples coming from this one seed.
Well, he came up with the Academy years idea because Paramount, after Star Trek V, they just wanted to ditch Star Trek altogether. So they were trying to do anything to save it. So we're lucky they came up with Star Trek 6. Otherwise, we never would have had a goodbye to our original crew.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember on the special features for the DVD for Star Trek 6, they were saying, or at least Harv Bennett's perspective on it was, you could have made the Academy one and then made Star Trek 6 right after it. Like, not, it would have been Star Trek 7, but he said, you could have done that. I wanted to do the Academy years and then you could have done the send-off. But I'm more than satisfied with the way that it played out the way it did. Me too.
Yeah, same here. And I have to say, obviously, I agree with you too. A+ all the way. Considerably for what it's did to start. First of all, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. TOS hit the ground running in the first season, which seems to be very rare in the later adaptations of Star Trek, and especially on television today. And not only, I think it was almost like a miracle or a ship, lightning in a bottle, where upon reviewing film to come up with the idea for Star Trek II, the fact that they looked at this episode and they realized the potential, I think was a master stroke. Because not only did it make the best Star Trek movie still to date, in my opinion, but it saved the franchise because the franchise was in doubt after Star Trek: The Motion Pictures. They knew for the next one they had to hit it out of the park. So I think what they did was exceptional, and everybody involved, I'm so glad they did the way that they did, especially because Star Trek, I'm a big fan of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, but a lot of people are in the opinion that in the motion picture that the fans that the crew of the Enterprise and the actors aren't quite themselves, like they're uncomfortable within their roles. But that seemed to be all cast aside for Star Trek II. Everybody was back in the groove, I guess you could say. So yes. So Wrath of Khan, it was just lightning in a bottle for so many reasons. I mean, and like I said, it saved the franchise. We may not have Star Trek today if it wasn't for Wrath of Khan. And as everybody has seen, they've tried to duplicate that many, many times to failure.
Oh my God. No, you can't do it.
Right. Can't mess with perfection.
Quotes.
Buried alive.
And Phantom Outsider says about the filth that it was dark and we grew fatigued.
Put me to sleep. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
No. Well, no, it didn't put me to sleep. It was a story with beats, which is more than I could say for all the rest of them.
Well, even a heartbeat beats, but it could be slow beat just before death.
Phantom Outsider says, what about Star Trek II, The Return of Beale? His planet was destroyed.
I think you mean Ball, right?
No, from Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, Bele.
Oh, okay,
Beale?
gotcha.
His planet was destroyed. He got loci, and now he wants revenge. He sends Kirk a series of riddles as he tries to revenge on the monotones, who had nothing to do with his planet's destruction. He's just a jerk. I like the Riddler reference in there, too, Phantom Outsider. Thank you for recognizing Frank Gorshin.
And also Phantom Outsider also says, as Scotty said, the more they overthink the pipes, the easier it is to stop up the drain. Chronic fatigue syndrome and telemarketing addiction. We offer you order. Give us your credit card and social security number.
Free shipping.
And Mega Copper says, let Scotty R37 drink on the Friday show. Well,
there you go.
It's never been an issue. I'm allowed to do. I'm an adult. I'm a real boy.
He's a grown up. He can do what he wants.
Yep.
But
and he often does. I'll let you know.
Tony Stark says, if a shore leave happens on Friday or Sunday, I'd love to come say hi. Yeah, it's going to be Friday. Oh, speaking of Well, not speaking of anything, that's my alarm to say it's almost near time to go.
Okay, perfect.
It always ends so quickly.
I know, right? Tony Stark says, but we did get through the review and through the ratings too.
Yeah.
Tony Stark says, and I still can't wait to review Blake 7 with Cardinal Sin. In the grim future darkness of the far future, there's only the current. Well, I hope that doesn't end up being true. Tyron Lethbridge says, "Good day, mate. Things are going great here. How are you? Sorry. Was AFK cooking a steak for lunch?" Hey,
Nice.
That's a
Delish.
fancy lunch. Who wants to do Captain Kirk here? Because that's a difficult one to do.
Yeah.
Because it requires a lot of yelling.
Gone.
All right.
Hello, Bunyan Smite.
Hey, Bunyan.
They should have released 2 episodes of Picard. Episode 1 was fine, but they didn't get going until the end credits.
That's when that was the best part, I guess, huh?
We'll find out what happens in episode 2 on Thursday.
Was it a cliffhanger?
They're all cliffhangers,
Every
dude.
episode
Season
is a
longs.
cliffhanger because it's not a it's a movie. It's a movie that's separated into 10 pieces.
Yeah.
But is it like a really exciting cliffhanger where you're hanging on the edge of your seat and you can't wait till next week?
No.
There is an appearance of an alien ship that apparently is going to do some damage, but aside from that,
It's just like a big ugly ship.
Oh,
Of
okay.
enemies that we don't really know. They haven't been speaking. They make clicky noises, but the universal translator is dead, so we don't know what they're saying.
we'll
And
find
so-
out on Thursday. On Thursday.
Yeah. No, yeah, the enemy part they didn't do a very good job making that compelling yet. Tony Stark says, "Don't worry, I'll tell." Con.
Oh, what did you do?
Oh, I can't. At some point. Okay, thank you, Tony. Do that for me on Friday.
Yeah.
But Tony has to go clock in. Oh wow, great timing because this is the end of the episode.
Dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun.
So I couldn't be more grateful for you guys showing up to talk with me about this episode.
Oh, glad to be here.
So
Absolutely fantastic.
yes. So please talk to me about your channel.
Oh, I have on Mondays, I have Star Trek, the animated series, which thankfully is also co-hosted by Scotty R37, Jill, Anti-Derivative Jill, and Gorilla's Random Thoughts. We will be covering episode 21 next week, How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth. And then you'll catch me, like now, you'll catch me Tuesdays covering TOS with Jill and Scotty. And Tuesday nights, I do horror sci-fi stream. Tonight will be the 1956 version of the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And on Wednesday, I will do, right, this is Monday, right? Tuesday?
Today's
I'm losing
Tuesday.
track of it. Tuesday, thank you. Sorry. Wednesday, which is tomorrow, I'll be doing my Gilligan's Island stream. And we are getting close to the end of that. And I cover that with the fantastic Gorilla's Random Thoughts. And I randomly do a Rumbling from the Lab stream. Hopefully another one soon. My last one was dedicated to the wonderful Gerald Freed. Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome. And also,
Ahoy. Yeah. At the before the Phantasmagorium show on Mondays, I get to hang out with Jill and Pop Culture Curator on Pop Culture Curator's channel with Gorilla's Random Thoughts, and we talk about the animated series, as he mentioned, and it's so fantastic to watch some new old Star Trek. I'm going through it for the first time, and it's great. I'm also so lucky to hang out with you guys and talk about the original series when we do it every Tuesday. And we've unfortunately, I apologize for going against you, Pop, but my co-host has made Tuesdays more available. So we've been going through Batman on Tuesday nights, and tonight we're going to be doing Batman Begins with Ben from Cinema Gulp and Kat and Ernesto. And we're talking about that Thursdays, because Jill does not like to sully her channel with the filth. We are talking about Picard season 3 and going through that until we don't. Whether the show gets bad enough that we stop watching or we finish the season, we don't know. That's what we're doing on Thursdays. And then whenever there's a tea time, I enjoy it. But whenever I decide to do something completely irresponsible, I do a Tribulations from time to time. The last one was Necessary Roughness. And if you do listen to it, tell me how it went.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
So, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very cool.
Yeah, you might not remember it, but that was a good show.
I'm told I had a great time.
You did. And so did Kat and everybody there.
Good.
And also, we had a poll. I forgot about the poll. I always forget about. Oh, wow. Look at this poll. This is a cool poll. 37 votes.
Nice.
But
In a
those
row?
votes. Oh, my goodness. This is exciting.
Is it
Wow.
the first clean sweep?
No. Close, though. I don't think it's ever been this close.
Mankind needed courage.
We offered the world order.
Thank you. So, what grade do you give Space Seed? We have 92% giving it an A to A plus. So that is pretty close. And then only 8% gave it a B. Wow, that is pretty cool.
High praises, and deservedly so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, we got a vote before
Absolutely. I think we're all in agreement on that.
So Herc 130 says, I would like to plug. I will be drifting in and out of mini chats in the near future.
Looking forward to it, Herc.
So
Yeah, can't wait to see
there's
you.
our poll. Absolutely. I'll save that for later. See you around, Herc 130. And Cavatino says, "Come, can you hold? Your call is important. Please wait for the next available representative to take your call." Thank you all, says Lemon Pie. Oh, hey, Lemon Pie showed up. Hey. So glad
Hey,
to
Lemon
see
Pie.
you.
Good to see you there.
Lemon.
And thank you also, Cardinal Sin, for being here and everybody who showed up. Tony Stark, great to see you. Also, Terry Rose. Positive Candor, hey.
Hey, Gander.
And Tyron. And say hi to Rennie. Tyron. I'm sure she's enjoying that steak. Steak for lunch.
Sounds
I'm doing
yummy.
lunch-
Ooh.
I know I'm doing lunch incorrectly.
Yeah, me too. That sounds really good.
Hampton Outsider. Hey, thanks for being here. And James Caserta and Matt G, Mega Cropper, D. Oberg. I missed saying hi to you. I'm sorry. Look
Hey,
at you. And Stuart Mitchell. Hey, Stuart Mitchell. And Sci-Fi Nation. It also has a channel.
Good to see you, Sci-Fi. Captain Finity as well.
Oh, yeah,
Admiral
Captain
Teague.
He focuses on the kisses.
Oh, the kisses.
And the Comic Relief Crusader. So thank you, everybody. I'm pretty sure I missed a few people, but of course, Gorilla's Random Thoughts, I cannot miss him. And Admiral Teague, absolutely. And King Dolphin TV. So
Yeah, Raymond.
I'll give him just one more plug for Raymond. Raymond's King Dolphin TV. Make sure to check out his channel. He celebrates all sorts of creators as he is an author himself. And that's our show for today. And so I will leave you. Have a great day, everyone. See you next time. I'll leave you
Thank
with
you,
the preview
everybody.
for next week's episode. And the next one, oh my God. You know, watching Star Trek in this manner, in order, is pretty incredible because it's just incredible. One favorite after the other. I don't even know how I could ever order these. But
Enjoy it now, because once we get to season 3,
I'm enjoying it immensely. And
Season
so,
3 had some good episodes.
okay.
oh,
Not
and-
as many, you know, it wasn't as consistent as 1 and 2, but it had a few good gems in the rough, I guess, in the wild.
I like Spectre of the Gun. And Spock's brain. Brain and brain. What is brain?
Well, Spock's brain's better than alternative factor.
True.
Oh, and Cam showed up at the end here. He says,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, Cam was there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Cam was here earlier.
Yeah, we did give a shout out to Cam.
We did. Well, thanks for hanging out, Cam.
Delicious.
Yes. And so I will see you guys next time. And I will leave you with the trailer for This Side of Paradise. Absolutely stunning Spock episode. Here we go.
La, na, na, na,
Bye-bye, everybody.
na, 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 na.
Captain's log, stardate 3417.3, Omicron Ceti 3. We had expected to find no survivors. These people shouldn't be alive.
Is it possible that they're not?
This is Layla Kalomi, our botanist.
Lieutenant, put me through to Admiral Comac in Starfleet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Captain. I can't do that.
I said get back to your station.
No, sir.
This is mutiny, mister.
Yes, sir.
This is Spock.
Yes, what did you want?
We're evacuating.
No, I don't think so.
You mutinous, disloyal, computerized half-breed. We'll see about you deserting my ship.